Okay, we are live. Welcome to the stream, everyone. We're going to be diving into the locals tournament real soon. It looks like we've got a pretty stacked locals tournament, so I'm just going to call it now and start this thing off here. So let me just do that over on Discord now. I'll say last call. Yeah, just in case there's anyone else who wants to, slide in at the very last minute. But I doubt like anyone. Well, you never know. So I'll give it until like 9:01. But yeah, this will be a locals tournament in Imperial Format, which is the format held in February 2004 or 2003. I'm in my 2005 2004 brain because of covering Warrior and Goat. But okay, it looks like that is it. So we're going to be starting this thing off, and we're going to be starting the locals. And yeah, let's just see it that way. So yeah, we're starting this thing off. We got the tournament going. Let's check in on challenge to see what it looks like here, and it looks pretty fun. So it looks like a couple people have buys. Aratos and Dumbtrick have buys here. But it looks like we've got Alon versus Williams Games, Danny Droid versus M. Shopes, Nightbreaker 497, and Chef Steph Curry, and then Clody and Pikachu. So that should be a good showing of games there. So let's dive in to the matches now, hopping on over into the duel room here. And it looks like Williams and Nightbreaker are both hosting already. So that should be pretty good. So we should have games ready to go for y'all here. Now, if you don't know, there is an Imperial Format tournament starting tomorrow. It's multi-day, not like this single day event here with the locals. So if this does interest you, if this format, you watch some games and you're like, hey, that looks pretty fun, then definitely head on over to the YGO from Zero Discord server, link in the description of the video. And it's a great place to find games in this format and also join the monthly tournament starting tomorrow. So definitely do that if you are interested. I'm going to hop on over to the watching. So that way, if they do just start, we'll be able to see right away who is ready to go. So hopefully they get started pretty soon. Yeah, I'm looking forward to what people are going to be cooking up as well, PJ. It should be pretty fun. This format does have a fair amount of jank available to it. I put Relinquish in the thumbnail because Relinquish is a popular deck in this format, and it is one that has gotten tops. It got second to the last Imperial Format tournament, and so I'm curious to see if anyone will bring that tonight. I'm sort of hoping, so that way the thumbnail will be proven true. But if not, it is what it is. And I'm sure we'll see some pretty other exciting games here as well. So looks like the players are taking a little bit to hop on into some games here. But it should be starting momentarily. While we wait, if you're not subscribed to the channel already, be sure to do that. Also leave the stream a like if you enjoy it. I promise we will be getting into Yu-Gi-Oh! Soon once they get started there. So don't worry, there'll be plenty to enjoy. So, leave a like, subscribe, and sound off in chat for what you're looking forward to for this tournament, like what decks you hope to see and other things like that, and where you think Imperial Format can go in the future. But we've got Chef Steph Curry versus Nightbreaker here. Let's see how this one goes. Chef Steph Curry has been in the past couple locals. I forget if Nightbreaker's been in the locals yet. I think they might have been in the last one, but I don't remember. But either way, happy to have them here. Happy to have both these players on stream playing some exciting games. So let's see. It looks like Chef Steph Curry is going to be going first here. And Dumbtruck is watching because I believe Dumbtruck faces the winner of this match. So they're going to dive in, go for Delinquent Duo here, ripping 2 cards out of the hand. That's pretty rough. But Delinquent Duo is a little bit better to have done on you than like Confiscation and Forceful Sentry. That might be a bit of a hot take because Confic and Forceful are just 1-for-1s, while Delinquent Duo is a +1. But getting the full hand knowledge is just brutal, as it allows your opponent to basically play around whatever you do. So it looks like Nightbreaker did lose the Change of Heart, and they pitched a Dust Tornado on Dust Tornado in the main deck, likely to play around things like Imperial Order, which is a really threatening card in this format. So main deck Dust Tornado is pretty good in that regard. Forceful Sentry coming down here to rip a card out of Chef Steph Curry's hand. And this is actually pretty good for Nightbreaker, but they've got full knowledge of what Chef Steph Curry's got going on in that hand. They don't know what the T-set is, which could come up. But they know that it's probably not Imperial Order, or else Chef Steph Curry probably would have fired the IO there. That does get shuffled back into the deck. So hopefully they notice. If they don't, I mean, I can just message one of them and basically say that, it goes back into the deck there. But yeah, that is going to get shuffled back in. And let me know if there are any difficulties in the chat or anything like that. I'm doing this stream on ultra low latency this time because I figured I'd try it out. And, ooh, knock on the Moth is super good here. So it looks like that Forceful might have been to test for IO in the background, and then you go for the knock to clear away that set. Oof, that's just brutal stuff. Hitting a Moth. So Nightbreaker's probably really happy about that. And also, they get more information about Chef Steph Curry's deck. They saw the hand. So, this has to be the totality of Magician of Face gathered up. Either there's one in hand or there's one back in deck. So, yeah, none on Nightbreaker's side. So that gives Chef Steph Curry a bit of information as well. Okay, PJ says stream looks fine. Okay, cool. That's good to know. And Trap Hole coming down here to stop that Sangan coming down. Now, Nightbreaker will get a search off this. So, honestly, they're probably not too torn up about that, but it really might depend on what Chef Steph Curry's got in hand that would make them want to go for the Trap Hole there. So, they're going to draw for turn here, and that unknown draw is, oh, wow, it's a Forceful, it looks like. So that's going to rip the last card out of Nightbreaker's hand. We know that that's the Mystic Tomato that they searched off the Sangan, so that's going to get shuffled back in there. And, yeah, that sort of equalizes things out a little bit there. And yeah, I mean, Nightbreaker still knows what's in Chef Steph Curry's hand, and Chef does not know what the set is, presumably. Although they could probably also presume that it's not an IO. But yeah, I mean, they knew what it was, but it doesn't really matter here. Yeah, they'll just get shuffled back. People can forget that sort of thing in the middle of a game. Yeah. Yeah, and they say, yeah, my bad. Yeah, it's hard to keep track sometimes. Mechanical Shades are coming down here. That had to have been in the hand already, so Nightbreaker had to have known about that. But I think they were probably fine letting Chef Steph keep it because they'd rather have just a beat stick that doesn't float into anything else rather than have something like a tomato that could potentially float into a Sangan or a Witch and get Chef Steph Curry's game plan rolling a bit. But it looks like they don't really have a good way to deal with that Mechanical Chaser. Seems like they're relying on these Sangan to... Oh, and Solemn coming down, negating the Witch, preventing a search from going off for Chef Steph Curry. This may seem like very, very aggressive, but I think it does make sense from Nightbreaker's part. They want to preserve as much information as they can about Chef Steph Curry's hand. And also they want to cut Chef Steph Curry off of any options that they might have. So they're going to set one, pass, or set another as well. Pass back to Chef Steph, and we'll see what they do here. Very interesting game plan, though. Heavy coming down. That will clear out the back row. It is another Solemn. And now Chef Steph Curry has to decide, do I attack it? Oh, well, Knock will clean it up. So that will actually be the game there. Wow. Yeah, rough stuff indeed. Very, very good game, though. And very intense. It's very short, but I feel like a lot was going on there. A lot of back and forth, a lot of mind games as well. And it was very cool to see a game sort of simplified down to that state very early on, and then see what each player did with that. Let's dive into another match going on here. Let's dive into Ben Lab versus Gabibo Balandi. Gabibo Balandi has not been in the locals for a while, so glad to see them back here, along with Ben Labs, who is a frequent recent guest on the locals scene. And oof, this is looks like Gabibo Balandi's on a bit of a stallier deck, playing things like Gravity Bind, things like that. So we'll have to see exactly what form that's taking there. Ben Lab's on a bit more of a recruiter deck with a bigger deck than normal. They've got 37, 41, 44 cards total, it looks like. And Gabibo has a little bit more than 40. It looks like they've got 41. So battle of the big decks, it looks like. PJ Darkness says, Imperial, I think, is when the speed of the game goes up. I can definitely see that. I personally feel like it goes up like more drastically in Android, because in Android, like, you get access to the 3 beater triangle, right? Bazoo, Gemini Elf, and Kaiku. And those all just having those monsters just coming down all the time and attacking you over things really speeds up the game to me. But I definitely can see why, Imperial would also be seen as that, because you've got Jinzo, you've got Io shutting things down. So yeah, I can definitely see why you'd think that. And I don't think it's a bad take to have, by any means. Change part going on the set there, hoping for something good. They did see what Gabibo searched off which. I think it was like, I forget what it was now. I should have been paying more attention. But let's see what it is. They're checking what it is here now. It looks like the Cyberjar. That's actually not bad to flip up now, because then you sort of get to have priority with what you want to do with cards in hand. And also you can't clear the rat anyways here. So yeah, they are going to flip over the Cyberjar, pop everything, and wipe out the board. Both players will reveal the top 5 cards of their deck and then bring out any level 4 or lower monsters. They can be normal or special summon, or just normal summoned, or no, special summoned. They can be special summoned. They'll set those down or summon them out. And that's really good for Ben Labs here, because they've got aggressive pressure that can beat over the White Magic Clown and the Dream Clown there. So that is really good to see. They can also set the Man Your Bug there to pop their opponent's stuff later. So yeah, this is looking really good for Ben Labs here. And it's kind of rough for Gabiba Balandi. Also, Ben Labs can play around the Forceful in hand if they so choose. So it looks like Gabiba Balandi will be setting the Dream Clown and the White Magical Hat. Now, Ben Labs can still hit over both of those with the Giant Rat and the Witch. So this is sort of pretty good for Ben Labs here. And oh, it looks like they're adding. Okay, but I mean, I guess they're just adding the hand before going for the summons here. But realistically, Ben Labs should summon out here. Yeah, because it doesn't make sense not to summon out either way. If they summon them in attack or set them face down, you know, the rat and the witch can beat over what Gabiba Balandi's got. So no, oh no, I do not agree with that. That is yeah, I don't like that. I guess it's playing around Mirror Force, but like, I really don't like that. You want to clear the Dream Clown and the hat before they get problematic. I mean, I guess they haven't normal summoned yet, so they could normal summon here to attack over stuff that way. Ah, they're setting. Oh, I do not like that. Yeah, they're going to attack here. I mean, you want to hit the clown. I think clown would probably be better to hit. And they do need to hit the clown. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like it just would have been better. Like, if it is Mirror Force in the back row, you've got Witch to float into something else. So like, I don't really think that's too big of a deal. And call coming down here, they can use MST in the end phase, because this format, you are at the point where you can activate quickly spells to turn their set. So even if it was set down like it was there, then you can indeed use that. So popping the Dream Clown there, preventing Gabiba Balandi from getting the value in the pop there. But yeah, I don't know. That was an interesting turn, because also now here's another thing too. Gabiba Balandi can flip up the White Magical Hat, equip it with Axe of Despair, and attack over the rat. And then that rips the last card out of hand, which we do know is the Dark Hole. So I don't know. I just think that it gives Gabiba Balandi more options. And there wasn't really much risk to just, bring out the rat and the witch and attack. So that's just me, though. Different players are going to play the game differently. And it looks like Gabiba Balandi's looking for that bug, but they hit the witch instead. So they get a bit punished for that there. And now Ben Labs will be able to, use the bug later to flip things up, and they'll also be able to switch the witch to attack over Gabiba Balandi's stuff. So yeah, I think it's not a bad spot to be in for sure. And what are they going to do now is the question. They're going to flip up the bug, popping the White Magical Hat. I think that's fine. You could save the bug, but Gabiba Balandi knows about the bug, so like realistically, you're not going to be able to get the most value off it. Flipping up a Moth as well. Moth is going to be pretty good here. A lot of different things you can get. Heavy is probably the best one. Yeah, they are going to go for the heavy there. Fire off that heavy, tearing away the back row there, hitting an MST in a trap hole. And now the floodgates are open. You can just get in here, attack for a fair amount of damage. I mean, the Moth and the bug aren't going to poke for that much, but still, this is 2,500, 3,250, which is around half of Gabiba Balandi's life points. So you're still in a good spot. You also know about some of the cards in hand. For instance, you know the Dark Hole, the Axe, or not the Dark Hole, the Forceful, the Axe. So you know some things that Google probably does not want you to know. And it looks like they're going to get a rat here. Maybe they're going to go for a rat crashing sort of spree, attacking in to Ben Labs' rat, because both players have used up one rat already. So, that could potentially work there. And it looks like Ben Labs is going to set one back row, set two back row, and pass back to Gabibo, playing around that forceful sentry there. What is Gabibo going to do? There's no Harpy Feather Duster in this format, just Heavy Storm. So that's really the only thing you have to worry about. But I do believe Heavy is at 2 in this format. So, you got to keep that in mind as well. But it looks like Gabibo is going to bring out the rat. It's going to be fine by Ben Labs, and they're going to attack over the Faith, getting in a fair amount of damage. 1100 is nothing to scoff at in this format. Oh, Mirror Force! Oh, that is brutal. That is some brutal stuff right there. And now Ben Labs will be able to attack in for a fair amount more damage if Gabibo does not have a Mirror Force or a Gravity Bind of their own. Even if they got Gravity Bind, Ben Labs can poke in for 750, so that's not nothing. Yeah, it's rough stuff for Gabibo here for sure. And yeah, they're going to bring out a Dream Clown of their own there. And this is going to be pretty rough for Gabibo. They're going to attack in for everything. Gravity Bind will stop the Rat and the Witch, but the Dream Clown, the Faith, and the Bug will still be able to attack. And it looks like Ben Labs is going to attack in with everything there. And then probably switch the Witch to the fence in main 2 because it didn't attack, I assume. But yeah, this is a very, very good board to have if you're Ben Labs, for sure. And if Gabibo sets out another monster, for instance, you can switch the Dream Clown to defense, pop that. Looks like another Dream Clown's coming down here that will be able to hit over like the Bug or the Faith. But either way, or just crash with the Dream Clown. I get why you do that. I don't think it's the best option though, because I feel like you just attack in to the Faith, like eat a Dream Clown pop on your Dream Clown, take 450, but like, I don't know. It's a bit tricky. They still have a couple turns here. Painful is going to potentially accelerate the clock a little bit more, depending on what Ben Labs sends. A lot of good potential options for them, but Painful is a very skill-intensive card in these formats. And especially when you're later into the game like this, the lines off Painful can be a bit trickier. Like, I saw a comment recently on my Guide to Warrior format. I just put out, that's basically like, why is Painful Choice such a skillful card? It's a busted card, so why is it skillful? In a lot of these early formats, there's a lot less you can do with the graveyard. So, figuring out what you're actually going to send actually is a painful choice, because the cards that you send are not all going to get value. Some of them are going to be burned. And when you're in a position like this, oftentimes finding 5 cards that potentially win you the game is what you need to do. And sometimes those 5 cards are not evident by any means. So, you've got to pull a little bit of a balancing act where you're kind of like, well, okay, are there 5 cards that I can send here that win me the game? If there aren't, do I just send generally good cards that put me in a good position, but then I lose those good cards later in top decks? Or do I potentially just send 5 dead cards from my deck and just deck in a lot? Okay, it looks like Gabibo Bellani's letting Ben Labs add the Jinzo. Yeah, so Jinzo is added. That is, I feel like that loses them the game here potentially, unless they've got an Offerings to the Doomed. Yeah, so that is, yeah, because you just tribute summon out the Jinzo and then attack in for game, right? Yeah, it looks like they're going to tribute over the Witch, bring out the Jinzo. Now, if Gabibo does have a Solemn, they can use that there, but yeah, that's just going to be the end of the game. I feel like you want to give them the Faith just in case you draw a way to out the Faith, right? Like, Faith was the only thing that didn't win them the game on the spot there, so I feel like Faith probably should have been the pick, but, I mean, who's to say? Like, especially when playing these games, maybe you want to bluff your opponent into thinking that maybe you've got Solemn or something like that. Who knows? But we've got another game here between Danny Droid and M. Shobes. And, this is another pretty intense one, it looks like. 8,600 life points. So okay, it looks like Mamangas were used up there. And Germs were used up on Danny's side. So very sort of neat to see those different things. Yeah. Oh, it looks like someone might have potentially been a no-show. That does happen in these locals. But it's good to keep in mind for the future. I like I hold these every week, and I sometimes sort of assume that people know more about them than they might. But yeah, they are just, we do them at the time that they start, and we just go until they stop. So in general, if you want to join these, make sure that you can attend for the whole thing. So yeah, Nimble is legal. It came out in Magic Ruler. So it's been legal since Treasure Format. Or I believe it came out in Magic Ruler. It might have come out in PSV. I'm trying to remember. Because I know a lot of floaters came out in Magic Ruler. Oh, Dark Hole here. That is pretty big. Now, M-Shows will get a bunch of searches here. They're going to get 3 searches total from the Sangans and the Witch. But that is still a pretty big Dark Hole there. And they're going to search out Mechanical Chaser. They're going to search out... Yeah, a bit of a tricky search there. Search out a Giant Rat as well. And they're also going to search out a Mindless Radiant. So it seems like they're on a bit of an interesting strategy, using Mindless maybe to buff up their Momongas, maybe buff up their Rats. So very cool stuff. In later formats, we see Mindless used in like Rescue Cat decks to pair with like Gekigeri Pandas and things like that to get a lethal amount of damage set up. But here it's a little bit less good. There aren't as many combos you can do with that. Forceful is also going to potentially set M-Shows back a little bit further. Now, based on whether Danny sends back the Rat or the Chaser, this is going to probably indicate a bit of what they've got there. So they're going to say return Rat, and that means that they might have a way to deal with Chaser through battle. They don't want the Rat to float into anything, for instance. So that is pretty telling, I think. And will M-Shows be able to use that information to their advantage? That remains to be seen. Because, really they're like in top deck mode now. Danny knows exactly what they've got right now and can sort of play around what they're doing. And it looks like they've got a Mechanical Chaser of their own. So that kind of makes sense because maybe they're baiting M-Shows into crashing with the Chaser. There's a couple different options here. The fact they didn't send any more back row means that they probably have monsters to follow up that Chaser with. So, yeah, it looks like the crash will go through. But Danny will likely be able to get in a free attack here. And it looks like, yeah, no sets on M-Shows' part. So, yeah, it is what it is. Maybe Danny had more Mechanical Chasers in hand. We'll have to see. Oh, they got a 3rd Germ. I think that's the last of the Germs. So, kind of unfortunate to hard draw that. But M-Shows probably knew about that from earlier. Because what probably happened was 1 Germ searched out another. And then the 3rd Germ was not summoned out, which means that they bricked on 2 Germs. But Dream Clown's going to come down here, and that's going to get Trap Hold. You want to remove that thing from the field, prevent it from getting any value there. So yeah, this also probably indicates that Dang doesn't have many other monsters that could beat over the Clown. I mean, there is also the option that they're just worried that M-Shows will have another back row. But it's tough to say. They're going to attack in for 2,400, accelerate the clock quite a bit here. And that back row might be another hole. It might be something else that can protect this board. But either way, M-Shows is in a tough spot. We know about the Mindless Radiant in hand. That's not really going to do anything against this board. It can chump block for a turn. But if Danny draws any other monster, that's probably the end of the game here. So, yeah, this is not looking good. What are they going to do? Is the question. And here's a tricky question. They might not really have a good way out of this scenario. Okay, it looks like TCG Farmer lost to Chef Steph Curry. So that was Nightbreaker versus Chef Steph Curry. So that game went through. Mindless being hard summoned here. So that will be 800 attack. I wonder what's going to happen next. Do they have... Oh, they're going to go for Change of Heart here. That is actually really good because they take control of the Cannon Soldier. They can hit over the Germ and then tribute off the Cannon Soldier for a little bit of extra damage. I don't think this is quite lethal because this is 1,200 total from the attack. So it drops Danny down to 2,500 and they've only got 1,000 burn damage off the cannon. But either way, this is a pretty decent position for M-Shows to be in here. Mindless is a weak monster. That is true. But, it's a monster. It blocks a little bit. And, it can just keep poking in for 800 every turn, which will be a 3-turn clock after they tribute off that Cannon Soldier because, the reason why you change apart the Cannon Soldier is because, yeah, you would tribute it off there. They were probably thinking about whether they also want to tribute off the Radiant, but I feel like that Radiant will probably get in a little bit more damage just attacking in, and if it doesn't, then at least it does sort of chump block a little bit. So, yeah, Milas beats. That's where we're at right now. The Milas beaten in, ripping 800 life points out of Danny every turn. So, yeah, and it looks like Dumptruck versus Chef Steph Curry will be the next match there. After Nightbreaker's lost. But we're still going. Am I in the? Oh, I'm not in the voice chat. Okay, I like to generally be in the Discord voice chat. I forgot this time though. Call the Haunted coming down here. That can bring out a variety of good monsters here. It could bring out Mechanical Chaser. Could bring out Witch. I could bring out Sangan. All of those can beat over Milas. The question is which one you want to go for. Which one do you think is the most sort of robust and versatile? You don't have to worry about Change of Heart anymore. That's engraved. Now, a Moth could get it back, but if that does happen, you sort of know it's coming. So you can sort of plan around that a little bit. But yeah, that Witch is going to hit over the Milo, steal 300, and get in potentially for more next turn. So that's going to be a pretty good call there. And now I'm sure to think about how to deal with that Witch, because that Witch is going to be quite annoying. Okay, Mechanical Chaser is probably the best monster to out it here. That'll deal 750, and also, Danny will get a search, but there aren't many things that beat over Mechanical Chaser in this format. Jinzo is one, but you'd have to have a tribute monster for that, or like a Change of Heart or a Snatch Go or something. And yeah, they're dropping down a little bit of damage here as well, down to 1250. So, that search could be something that gets them out of it. It could also just deck them a little bit, draw them into something that actually wins them the game here potentially, because there are some things that might do that. Things like Change of Heart, Snatch Steal, plus another monster will be probably the end of the game for M-Shopes. But still, very, very intense position to be in. Whenever it gets down to these top deck modes, it can be pretty intense. So they're going to search out a Mechanical Chaser. Worst case scenario, they can crash into M-Shopes' Mechanical Chaser there. It's not ideal because then they're sort of leaving themselves very, very vulnerable. But, sometimes you do what you got to do, right? And we'll have to see if they're going to do what they got to do. They're checking the graveyards, seeing what M-Shopes have used up here, what they still have in deck, potential ways that they could draw a card that wins them the game. A lot of potential options for Danny here. But yeah, Mechanical Chaser coming down, and that's probably going to crash. It will indeed crash into M-Shopes' Mechanical Chaser. You do what you got to do, right? You just got to hope that they don't get a monster now, or that your back row is enough to stop whatever monster they might get. And very intense stuff. Will M-Shopes draw a way to victory here? Looks like they've got another Mechanical Chaser in their hand. Will that be enough? Attacking in for 1850. Is that a Mirror Force in the back row? And it is not. Wow, that will be the end of the game. Very, very intense one. Very, very good stuff there from both players. It's always cool when a game becomes very, very back and forth like that. And let's see what some other matches are going on. I believe this one might be a no-show. So yeah, I think it's just Danny Droid and M-Shopes. Oh, it's Wames and Aratos because that was ruled as a no-show. Yeah, okay. So let's dive into Wames versus Aratos here. I'll put this one in as a no-show. Nope, other way around. There we go. Yeah, so it's Aratos versus Wames games. And wow, very, very intense game. It looks like Wames has already won the first one. And Aratos seems to have an advantage here in the second one. They search out a Jinzo, which will be able to, get over any monster on Wames' side of the field, unless Wames is playing like limiter removal, which, maybe they are. Maybe that's why the game ended so quickly. Tough to say. MSC coming down here, trying to snipe a back row, and it looks like they'll snipe a Rush recklessly. So that would potentially explain why things got so aggressive here. That's going to be used on the Cannon Soldier, which is a little bit telling, potentially. It could be that they want to sort of save as much damage as they can. It could be that they've got another Rush recklessly in the back row that can buff up either the Cannon Soldier or the Mechanical Chaser there. But either way, that bug is going to flip up, pop the Chaser, and then Jinzo's coming down, shutting off any traps that might be here. And Eraser's got to decide, do I attack into that can soldier? One rush recklessly has already been used up. Is there another in the back row? And it looks like there will not be another in the back row. Williams is going to take 300 damage there, and Eraser's going to pass back. And that's going to be the end of that game. So very intense stuff there. Yeah, and I think this shows how like intense this format can be. And also it shows some cool tech going on. We got to see some rush recklesslies being thrown around. And that's a card you don't often see in this format. Ooh, IO stopped by an MST. Pot agreed there as well. Knock as well. Hitting a man-eater bug. Oh, it looks like this game is off to a crushing start as Dump Truck just playing all these powerful cards and just demolishing what Steph Curry has set up there. Tomato coming down here, poking in for 1,400, depleting Chef's life points a little bit there. And what will come next is the question. Painful Choice, that is a really, really good card here. But again, Painful is a very tricky card to use in this format. It's generally not like, an instant win button or anything like that. It really is just a way to give yourself a little bit more options, deck in a little bit, potentially get powerful cards, and supplement your game plan. But it's very tricky to use. One of the most common ways to use it, as we're seeing Chef Steph Curry use here, is sending all three of the hand rips and then sending some additional cards that you might want to have. The reason for doing this is because the hand rips late in the game can be a brick, especially when you're into those top deck situations that we've seen a lot on this stream so far. So the idea is by sending these hand rips, you get them out of the deck. If your opponent does give them to you, then you get some powerful, either knowledge of their hand or you rip cards out of their hand and go plus like with Duo. But yeah, it looks like Dump Truck's going to give Chef the Fisher. That Fisher will pop the tomato there. And now another tomato's coming down. I think, honestly, this may have been a slight missequencing. I think in general, what you want to do is summon the tomato first. That way, I guess Dump Truck already knew about the Fisher. So it wouldn't really matter there. Yeah, I think that's fine, actually. I think that's a fine sequencing. Because the knowledge was already there. So normally if Dump Truck did not know about the Fisher, what you do is you'd summon out the tomato first, see what your opponent does, and then go for the Fisher, especially if you've already baited out like an Imperial Order, which, if Dump Truck had Imperial Order, they probably would have used it on the Painful there. Or they would have given Chef Steph Curry a card that caused them to pay 1,000 life points. Knock coming down on Dump Truck's side of the thing this time. And that's going to banish some more cards from deck, this time banishing any Moths that either player may have from the deck. A Moth, very powerful. Bug, also very powerful. And now both of them are gone for the remainder of the game if both players still have some left. Now, only one Moth was banished from Chef Steph Curry's deck. Now, that could mean that another is in hand, and they are setting a monster here. Could it be the Moth? Might be. If so, Dump Truck probably has the read that it is the Moth, or this is like bait to try and get them to use a stealer, like Change of Heart or something like that. Snatch Shield is going to be used on the tomato there. It's going to take control of that, and that's going to get sacked off for a Jinzo here. Jinzo will be able to attack it into the set, and it is indeed the Moth. So Moth will be able to get back either the Fisher or the Pot or whatever they might need here. If they prioritize killing the Jinzo, then Fisher might be the choice. If they prioritize getting more cards, having more options, then Pot might be the choice. They are going to go for the Pot there. So I think that probably is the right choice in most scenarios. But there are worlds in which your hand is already good enough. You just need that Fisher to clear the Jinzo, and then you're off to the races. But Pot's going to come down here, drawing two more. And Jeff is going to check the graveyard yet again. Now, we know that they don't have a Moth, because that was banished already. So no Moths left in deck. But they could have a variety of other things. They could have a Monster Reborn, a Call the Haunted, a Premat. Looks like they're just going to set and pass. So it seems like they don't have the best way to deal with Jinzo unless that is, a knock coming down here. So that's going to clear that Witch, which could have gotten them potentially a way to deal with the Jinzo. Although it's a little bit unlikely because there isn't really anything you can search off Witch that can get over Jinzo on its own. No Bazoo the Soul Eater in this format. So yeah, this is going to be pretty rough for Chef. Their traps are also shut down. So any other forms of defense they might have might be a little bit worse. Yeah, definitely a tricky spot to be in. Looks like Reborn is coming down here, and they're going to bring back a tomato in defense just to get out, other searchers from the deck, thin things out a little bit. Looks like they're just going to pass back to Dump Truck. Maybe the Fisher would have been the choice off the Pot, or off the Moth. I don't know. I guess, yeah. I don't know. I think Fisher might have been the choice, but it's hard to say in the moment because it's like it's sort of like the meme from Family Guy where it's like, oh, you could have everything in the box, or you could have this boat. It's like, oh, but in the box there could be anything. There could even be a boat or something like that. It's I feel like that's the sort of temptation that a lot of people fall into when going for like bring back either Pot or Fisher. Because Pot's just so tempting, and there are times when it does work out for you, but I think there are also times like this, I think, where it really does not. And I really think this is a time where Chef might be regretting that choice to go for the Pot here instead of like the Fisher. But that will be all 3 of each player's tomatoes out of the deck there. Chef's going to end on a Sangan, and Dump Truck probably has a Witch left, so they could end on the Witch, hit over the Sangan. Looks like that is indeed what they're going to do. No bugs, no moths left, so, there aren't really many good searches off Sangan that can clear the Jinzo. There's sort of stalling tactics that you can use. Oh, Morphing Jar number 2 will clear the Jinzo. Okay, I stand corrected. That is a very interesting tech. Mills out a lot of Dump Truck's deck potentially, and does indeed clear that Jinzo. So very interesting to see. It looks like they're just going to set another pass back to Dump Truck here. Now, if Dump Truck doesn't have a way to clear that Morphing Jar number 2, could go pretty badly for them. If they do, it might be the end of the game. So will they have it? Place your bets down below in the chat. Okay, looks like they're going to bring out a Sangan here. And go for the Geki. That probably will be the end of the game. Yeah, hitting the Morphing Jar number 2, and this will be well over lethal damage. Yeah, that'll be the end of the game. So it really makes you wonder if Chef had gone for the Fisher instead of the Pot, would that game have turned out differently? Hard to tell. Okay, it looks like Gaviu Villani won the second game, and they're on game 3 now. Very interesting stuff here. It looks like Hat will get a chance to rip a card out of the hand. All 3 moths banished there. Okay, Mirror Force will be able to stop the Hat. They also can't stack the Axe back on top of the deck because there's no Monster Tribute for its effect. And now Ben Labs might be in a pretty good spot. They've got a free way to attack in here. And, Coffee as well. Getting a peek at what's in the hand to play around that potentially and go for bigger plays later. What are they going to see? Are they going to see something that they want to, sort of play around? Are they going to see that the floodgates are open? They can just attack in for free, basically. They're going to hit the Sangan. I think that is smart. You don't want that resource chain sort of coming into play and leaving Gabibo with just a Dream Clown and Mechanical Chaser. That should be easy enough to sort of play around. They're going to set one, pass back to Gabibo here. And what will Gabibo do? Now, the fact that it didn't summon out that monster means it's probably not a Witch, probably not a Sangan. So it probably is something that does something here. But Gabibo does need to make that choice. Like, what do I do with this? Do I commit into a Dream Clown? Do I commit into a Chaser? They say probably Moth set. It cannot be a Moth. Oh, no, Benloves, don't tell them that. You never want to give the opponent information that they might be, misled into believing there. But, yeah. I mean, that is sportsmanship. That's a bit sportsmanlike. It's like, well, okay. My opponent, if they were playing on top of their game, they would know that. They're going to flip up the Bug, popping a tomato there. And now they know that Gabibo has the Dream Clown and the Chaser in hand. So what will they do to play around that? As the question. And we'll have to see the answer to this. Bug attacking in for just 450, poking. So it looks like they might not really have a way to protect that Bug, but or any other monsters to follow it up with here. Yeah, Mechanical Chaser coming down, trying to get in a cool 1400. They're going to try attacking in there. And that will go through. So Ben Labs will take 1400, unfortunately. And it looks like Gabibo is just going to pass back to Ben Labs. Seems like they might have drawn another monster potentially. And Ben Labs is going to set another, pass back to Gabibo there. So Gabibo may be getting a little bit punished for not setting the Dream Clown, but we'll have to see exactly what the set is. Looks like the set is a Dream Clown of Ben Labs' own. You never want to be in this position where you're just sort of throwing away the Dream Clowns. Looks like Gabibo is now going to bring out a Dream Clown, pass back to Ben Labs here. And what will they do? Desperate straits, for sure. Definitely a tricky scenario. Oh, setting one? Oh, that's very unfortunate. Because now Gabibo can just switch the Clown to defense, pop the set, and, get in for another 1850. Oh, or just knock. Knock works too. Yeah, knocking a tomato there, getting that out of the way, like enabling them to just attack in for a ton of damage here, getting in for 30, 50. If Cannon Soldier, oh yeah. Why didn't Benlob just summon out the tomato hit over the clown? That would have been probably a better way out of that, unfortunately. Yeah, but that does happen. Occasionally, you get wrapped up in your own head, and it can be tricky to figure out. But yeah, looks like they're just going to set one, pass back to Ben Labs here. Ben Labs is going to set another pass back, but there's no TT, no Mirror Force left because Mirror Force is gone there. So this should likely be the end of the game. I can't really think of any other things in the format that can deal with this. And yeah, that will be the end of the game there. So very unfortunate stuff for Ben Labs. I don't think I don't know. Something the tomato might have turned the tide a little bit. But yeah, it is what it is. And very, very good stuff. Very cool to see. Cool to see people on Clown because Regan Clown is the cornerstone of Clown Control, and that deck is pretty cool to see. So I'll put in that game's results now. Clody is Gabiba Balandi, and Pikachu is Ben Labs. So I'll put that in there. And let's dive into Danny versus M. Shobes. Looks like it's 1-1 now. Both players are back in it. And it looks like it's still very early on. So it looks like a Cannon Soldier here summoned, attacked in for 14. Maybe the Dark Hole cleared up that board a little bit there. Trap Hole might have cleared up the Chaser as well. Yeah. Good stuff, though. So early game. Oh, it looks like a Ratos versus Wayne game is wrapped up as well. So it looks like a Ratos won that one. So I'll put that in as well. And this locals is moving along pretty smoothly here. We've already got 2 of our semifinalists. Oh wow, going for a lot of damage while I was putting in the stuff. They're gonna attack in for 37 plus 14. Is this lethal? It is lethal. It's exact lethal, in fact. That's wild. Yeah. Power of Cannon Soldier. But yeah, unfortunately, not much you can do there. And yeah, all monsters, that does occasionally happen. And IO, just in case. So yeah, it looks like Danny was very likely just going to win this one. But very, very good stuff indeed. Yeah, it really does show the power of Cannon Soldier. As PJ said, Imperial is a little bit fast-paced. That same sort of thing can happen in Treasure as well. But with IO and things like that to insulate you from like big spells and things like that, and Call the Haunted to bring things back as well. There are a little bit more ways to construct it. So, yeah, let's dive into Dump Truck versus Chef Steph Curry now. I believe that is the only other game going on right now besides Ratos and Danny Droid. So it looks like, yeah, somehow my opponent knew my deck from turn 1 of our first duel. Maybe they had a soul read. They recognized another clown player right from the start. Oh, wow. This is going to be pretty cool here. It looks like that Snatch Field's been live for quite some time, unless the life points are just glitched for us. I think the life points might just be glitched. Let's dive back into that one now. Because, yeah, it looks like I doubt they're at 62.54. I really doubt that. And that wouldn't drop down to 48.65 anyways. So, yeah, this is we don't quite know the total. Looks like painful coming down here. I was asking the Washers chat, what's Dump Trucks? Yeah, just because it is a bit glitched for us here. Even though I had no clowns in hand when Confi was activated. Oh, did they see Giant Rat? Because Giant Rat would do that. Generally, if you see Giant Rat, the only real thing to float into here, besides manga, is Clown. So, yeah, so that would explain that. But I mean, that does happen sometimes. Yeah, I mean, there are some decks playing Rats that don't float into Clown, but Clown is one of the best Earth targets to end on, especially in this format. So, yeah, that'll explain it. Oof, leaving them with double knock. So Dump Truck can sort of just play around those knocks for the rest of the game. And yeah, who's there? It is kind of a knock joke, you know what I mean? That's how Yu-Gi-Oh goes sometimes. Oh, and Premat here coming down as well. Premat bring back a tomato there, crashing in to the Cannon Soldier. And yeah, bring out a witch. Man, this life point total here, very rough. Oh, is that getting blocked by my logo here anyways? Maybe I should change that for the future, just the configuration. Can y'all see the life points of both players good? Disregarding the glitches here, of course. Cause I just realized, like, on my side of things, just seeing the stream preview, I see that the logo for my channel seems to maybe potentially be blocking it. Okay, Ben L says that they can, so I think it might just be on my end then. So good to know. Thank you. Saying coming down here, and yeah, okay. I think I did indeed put in the Danedroid versus M-Shobes. Yes, I did. Okay. So yeah, that game's going on. Mirror Force here on the Tomato, really, really good. Gives Dump Truck the Sangan to just keep hitting in there. But Chef Steph has not committed into the board yet, so they're going to set one. Okay, the logo goes right to the bottom of the LP for Dump Truck. Okay, cool. So it doesn't cover it. That's good to know. But that's what I was worried about. Unfortunately, in this game, the life points for Dump Truck are kind of messed up anyways, right? Because it's just DB glitching here a bit. I assume that the players know what the life point totals are. Knock here, which Dump Truck didn't know about, so they might be trying to get Chef Steph Curry's Moffs out of the deck. And Moff is not going to do anything here because the 2 knocks in hand anyway. So you might as well get your opponent to use them up now. It is kind of rough though to see. And also only 1 Moff coming out, which might mean that there's another Moff in the deck in Dump Truck's future. So another 400 lost. They're at 32-22. Not actually at that, but they're just they're doing what they can. It looks like Chef Steph's going to set one pass back to Dump Truck. Now, does Dump Truck set the Sangan? Do they just leave it in attack? Can they afford to? We don't know the exact life point total, so it's tough to say. I do think they're probably around 3,000. So, do with that what you will. But they're just going to summon out the Sangan, pass back to Chef Steph. At least they get a search off this, but it's not looking good for Dump Truck here. Painful choice as well. Getting 5 cards to the deck. Getting 1 to hand. Probably going to be a pretty good painful here. Chef Steph probably has some ways to wrap up the game here. Although with Change of Heart and Snatch gone, maybe not. We don't exactly know Dump Truck's life point total. I'm just going to try and quit and come back again. See if that helps. It does not help. I could refresh. I'll just refresh. See if that helps. Let's dive back into that game there. Into the watching. Okay, 30-50. Okay, so it was around 32-22, but now we have the exact numbers. So that does help quite a bit. So looks like they're sending triple or double Goblin attack force, double Mechanical Chaser, and 1 pre-mat. Looks like Dump Truck's going to give them the Goblin. That makes sense because Goblin can then be beaten over by whatever you search out with Sangan there. But it does get in for a lot of damage. That's 1,300 plus 1,400. That's 2,700 damage. Any 1 Cannon Soldier will end the game. But, pre-mat is engraved. So it isn't the most likely thing in the world to, sort of lose that. Bug getting added to hand. But again, the knock will stop that from really doing anything here. But yeah, 2,300 going in. 350 left. If that's set, just call the Haunted, and that's going to be the end of the game. Coffee here as well, just, ripping the cards out of hand. I don't even know what you send. Like, yeah, just send Cannon Soldier. Cannon Soldier could potentially do something here, but Dump Truck can't really commit the bug either way. I mean, they kind of have to set it, but like knock stops it, so it doesn't really matter that much. Yeah, it's just kind of, just summing out the bug, doing what you can, fishing away the tomato, but IO will stop that, so it doesn't really matter here. And that will be the end of game 2 there. Very intense stuff. Yeah, very, very good games. And sort of like Chef Steph's play with the painful there was what I was mentioning earlier, where like sometimes you do just have to know, like, okay, I can't get the 5 winning cards here, but I can get 5 cards that put me in a winning position. And that's what Steph did. And effectively, it basically was the winning 5 there, because those all allowed them to pump out a lot of damage, and that was enough to win the game. So very good stuff. It looks like a Jinzo there coming down off of a taking control of Mechanical Chaser. But Aratus does have a Fisher to deal with that, and they'll be able to attack in for 1,100. Now, that being said, Aratus is at 2,650, so that life point differential can come up. But we don't know if Danny has any other, like, Sangans or Witches in hand. It looks like they might have searched out a Mechanical Chaser or a Jinzo with the first Witch that they had. So they might not have access to the Resource Train. Oh, Monster Reborn. That is going to be pretty brutal. They're targeting the Jinzo there, and that does indeed go through. They can get a lot of damage in this turn. If they've got like a Tomato or a Mechanical Chaser or anything like that, they probably just win the game here. And yeah, Tomato will come down 1300 plus 1400, so likely lethal damage here. I mean, if Raiders has a Rush Recklessly, then that won't quite be lethal, but either way, yeah, that's just the end of the game there. So yeah, very intense stuff. And, you know, again, like if you set up Jinzo, if you manage to keep Jinzo on field or just bring it back repeatedly, then you are in a really good spot, and it can be disastrous for your opponent. So it is very, very cool to see that like sort of increase in pace as time goes on in the DM era, because a lot of people do view the DM era as just one sort of monolith of speed. Like it's just the same sort of grindy gameplay throughout. There are different variations on that, are different tempo changes. I would still say that Imperial lies more on the grindier side of things. Like I do think that like from Critter to Imperial is sort of like one era of the DM era, like a sub era, I guess, where like the gameplay is relatively similar. So yeah, and I'll be making a video coming out next week where it's basically just talking about all the different DM era formats, and just talking about like why they might appeal to some people, why they might not appeal to others, and just sort of giving a general rundown of what people should try out if they do want to experiment with the DM era. And I'll be going into all that a bit more there, but I'm not sure if it will be edited like the video I put up recently, because that did take a lot of work, and this video would be a lot longer. But I might do that. I could potentially do that. Let me know in the stream here, or just wherever, maybe in the comments of that video as well. Let me know what you'd prefer to do or prefer to see. Because like that last video I did was a bit different for me and did take a lot of hard work to put together. So it really is up to you guys. If you guys don't like it, then I'll definitely just do sort of my more standard style. Just using sort of DB almost as like PowerPoint. But if you do like that sort of thing, then let me know, and I'll put together more of a polished, edited thing like that. So, you know, I'm here to listen and here to serve. I don't play. Hi, Tyler Compton. Welcome to the stream. I don't like play modern formats really because I'm focused on all these retro formats for the channel. But I am like familiar. I do keep up to date with the modern formats. Because I do think it is cool to see where the game is now. I'm not sort of one of those Yu-Gi boomers who's like, oh, you know, after they introduced like synchros or pendulums, the game all went downhill. I think that there's something like in every sort of iteration of the game that it's had. And so I sort of put together like this channel just to sort of explore all the different iterations that it's had over the course of its history. And I'm not planning on stopping at just like the DM era or GX era or etc. I'm planning on just going for as long as I can. And getting through all the later formats as well. So eventually I do plan to get to modern. It might be a while though, because, you know, I generally spend like a month on these formats. That might change in GX if there are a lot of formats that seem pretty samey to me, especially when you just have Cyberstein dominating things for a while. But like we'll sort of play it by ear there, and we'll see exactly if I increase my pace of speed in the future, if I, you know, sort of slow down and dive deeper into these things. Really does depend. But yeah, it looks like that will be the end of the game, and even the IO there won't stop Dump Truck's offensive pressure here. Very, very cool stuff on their part, and they're going to go into a game versus Clody95 here. So we've got Ratos versus Danny Droid and Clody versus Dump Truck. Both good games there. But yeah. So let's dive in. Where is did the Ratos versus Danny game match up? Maybe I just don't see it. Oh, maybe it's just gone. Maybe it did wrap up. Because I mean, it is possible to end these games pretty quickly in this format. Let me know if I'm just going crazy chat, or if there's actually something there. But yeah, if people do want me like to make videos on the modern formats and stuff, like on the Patreon you can like get higher tiers to get exclusive videos and stuff like that, and I've sort of left it up to my patrons to decide on that. So Tyler Conn, I know that you're one of the $5 patron tiers, so I actually have a patron chat that you should be a part of, and you can sort of request that if you do want to see it as well. So yeah. Yeah, no, the easier stuff is definitely easier to follow as well. So that's kind of the nice thing about these formats is that a lot of them are just very sort of beginner friendly. Not to say that anyone is like a beginner out there watching these videos, but like for anyone diving into a new format, no matter how much experience you have with the game, if you've never played the format before, it can be a lot to take in. And it's like it's good to have these sort of more simplified formats to sort of just like make it easier on yourself whenever you're diving into a new thing. And I think that's part of why the DM era formats are fun to explore for me. Yeah, please do get on that chat. I don't think anyone sent a message in that chat yet, so I would like to know if it actually works correctly. And if it doesn't work correctly, you could reach out to me on Patreon or on Discord and let me know. Because it would be good to actually get out those exclusive patron videos. Because so far all my hiring patrons have just been like, yeah, we'll just donate stuff to you. You don't need to like make the rewards and stuff. And like I appreciate that. I think that's fun, but like also I want to provide something for y'all if you are paying more. So yeah, please do let me know. Because I'll be happy to make those videos and set them up there. But yeah, so we've got the game versus Gabiba Blondie and Dump Truck here. And I always set up on Dump Truck side. Looks like they're gonna keep that up there. Going for the Moth though to grab back the pot. So this to me says that they've got a Jinzo in hand, because what they're going to do here is they're going to tribute out the Jinzo and activate the pot, or they're just going to go in like this. Okay, I'm kind of perplexed by the IO being kept up, but maybe they've got a plan for that later. Looks like they're just going to set 2 more and pass back to Gabibo there, and see how it goes. And also, another thing to getting into these formats is that a lot of the staples in these formats are very well known, like, just over the course of Yu-Gi-Oh's history. Even if you play formats where they're not legal, people generally know about things like Raigeki or Dark Hole, or if they don't, they're simple enough to read and understand. People know about Pot of Greed, right? Draws you 2 cards. And so, like, there are a lot of easier jumping off points in these formats than, like, if you jump into Edison right away. Like, if you're not really as familiar with some of the archetypes there, it could be a bit harder for you to figure out. And looks like Dump Truck is surprised by the Cyber Jar there, giving it a what? Yeah, maybe they weren't expecting that, or maybe something else happened here that I don't know. But okay, maybe it's the trap hole on the tomato there. They were not expecting that, especially when a Cyber Jar was in the offing there. Looks like they're going to go for a Time Seal. Very interesting tech here. Time Seal will shut off Gabibo from a draw. And that could potentially come up. The fact that they were willing to use Trap Hole on the monster there. Ooh, and Swords popping a Man-Eater Bug is also pretty good. Dream Clown coming down here, just sitting on its just 1200 attack and the Swords, and passing back to Dump Truck here. Now, if Dump Truck has a way to clear that Sword, they can get over the Dream Clown. It looks like they do have a way to clear the Swords. They've got a Dust Tornado here that will indeed get rid of the Swords, and now they'll be able to summon out a monster to attack over the Dream Clown. And yep, looks like they do have the out, but it's not the most unreasonable thing in the world because, there are triple MSTs in this format. There's Heavy Storm in this format. So, yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's like, I get that there are also formats where, like, there are much more diverse formats, and those are also really fun. Like, I really do enjoy a diverse format as well as sort of a more homogenous format. Like, Warrior format, very diverse format. It's very similar to GOAT in deck diversity, but I do think that, like, Chaos Turbo is a bit nerfed. So you have other things like GOAT Control and, like, other decks that are a bit better than they are in GOAT format. And, like, in that format, it can be a bit tough to know what each deck is trying to do, even though they share a relatively similar pool of staples. But in these older formats, while there are decks that do different things, they also oftentimes share a same core of cards. And it's very easy to understand why those cards are in the deck. They're just individually powerful, right? Like, seeing a Raigeki, you don't necessarily need to wonder, why is this card that destroys all my opponent's monsters in the deck, right? You just know that right away. And so it allows players to get a better grasp of the decks and what they're trying to do, like, more quickly. And it also does then allow them to focus more on, like, using these cards strategically and becoming more skillful in the format, like, a lot sooner than other formats. So I definitely agree with that, Tyler Compton. Oof, that duo there, ripping 2 cards out of the hand, ripping a Premat and a Mechanical Chaser. That's a pretty brutal rip there. But which can search out something later. Tomato can get another monster from deck as well. So, not the worst thing in the world. It looks like they're going to set one, maybe playing around Morphing Jar, hit into a giant rat there. So they won't be able to clear that yet. And main phase 2, they're probably going to switch the Witch to defense to save a bit of damage. Go for Forceful here to rip that last card out of hand, ripping a Pre-Mat. Pre-Mat, unfortunately, isn't the best with what Gabibu Blondie's graveyard is there, but it's better to get rid of it now rather than later. It looks like they accidentally milled the top card of their deck as well, so they'll probably just go back top, shuffled in, etc. But it's interesting because, like, Imperial Format especially, not many people have explored this format that much. We've only had one tournament in it, and that only had like 15 people in it, so definitely not a sort of super huge sample size. And I'm really excited for the tournament starting tomorrow. It looks like we'll have more people in it than the last one did, but it probably won't make like huge numbers, right? Like right now we've got 13 signed up. I assume more people will sign up. I mean, I'm going to sign up for that tournament after this locals, and I assume that that's going to get above 15 people. So we'll have more people than we had in the last tournament, which is generally what I aim for these tournaments. I really like to see that growth, seeing more people join in a certain format's tournament than were last in it. I think that is a good sign for the formats, but, you know, we're not going to get the numbers as something that a more typically flashy format like Warrior format is going to have, right? I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. Different formats appeal to different people, but I do think that there is some hidden things that you can explore in Imperial format. Like, people have not really done a lot of investigation into this. I don't even think it has its own Discord server yet. It might actually be the only one of these old DM era formats that I've covered that don't have their own Discord server right now, which is kind of wild to think about. But yeah, I think it is the only one because Joey Pegasus has one, Scientist has one, Warrior has one, Chaos has one, Vampire might not have one. I don't think, there might be a Vampire server, I might not be in it though. But yeah, Vampire might not have one. Vampire is still a fun format though, don't get me wrong. Just like Imperial format is. But, you know, it is kind of interesting to see why this format does not have one. Gravity Vine getting fired here. And that will stop the Witch from attacking in if Dumptrick doesn't have a way to deal with it. But now that Witch is an attack, so that means the Green Clown can attack over it. So really tricky position to be in here. Now the Witch will be able to search out something for Dumptrick here. Oh, and going for a duo on one card here. That means that they must be afraid of what's in hand and have the tools to deal with what's on field here pretty easily. Yeah, and Gabibu Alani says worth. I do think that it probably was worth it to hit that card out of the hand there. And it looks like Gabibu Alani's going to check the grave. Set one, switch that Dream Clown to attack, and just pass back, saying, I don't even need to attack in right now. I can just switch this clown to attack, pop the Witch, pop whatever else you might set there, and that'll be fine. I don't need to play into Mirror Force or anything like that. And they can't attack in with the rat anyways, because that's level 4, so. They're checking the graveyard as well, seeing what they might have. You know, if it's a Moth set, then you can get back Duo or Coffee, which is obviously pretty good. Looks like Mechanical Stages are coming down. That is a pretty good sign that, you know, that Gravity Vine might not be long for this world. But it looks like they're just going to set one pass. So maybe they're just trying to give Gabibu a little bit more options for what to pop with the clown. Yeah, a bit of an interesting choice here. I don't hate it, but I'm also not the biggest fan of it. You know what I mean? But we'll have to see what Gabibu does now. They're checking their graveyard again. So if that is Moth set, they might be saving it for later, for instance. Yeah, they're just sort of buckling in. I mean, they could just be going for deck out because Dumptrick does have only 19 cards left in deck, but they also do probably have other ways to clear the bind. So I don't really know here. They could also just be trying to wait for Jinzo, which can search out Jinzo. So there's those options as well. And it looks like Time Seal is getting fired here. So for next turn, Gabibu will not be able to draw. That Dream Clown's going to get switched to attack. And is anything going to happen? Pre-Mat's going to be fired. Pre-Mat is going to bring back maybe the Crass. Yeah, it looks like it's just going to bring out Crass, try and set up that for later. I don't know. I don't even think you need to do this. I think it's maybe a little bit greedy. Because, like, Heavy is still in the deck. And I feel like Dumptruck having this board is not unreasonable. I mean, I guess if it does get heavy, then, like, it just goes to grave, so it's just that. But, and the rat's still on field, so you don't have to worry about that. But still, it's kind of a weird spot to be in. Coffee ripping the Snatch Deal out of hand. That's pretty good. And it's Dump Truck have another card here to do something with. The Dream Clown will get to pop something on this turn. Yeah, okay, that was that. So, will the Dream Clown pop the Witch, or are they just going to switch the Cross Clown to defense and try and bounce it back on the following turn? It looks like they're going to try and go for the bouncing option. So this way, you know, they're preventing Dump Truck from searching out something like Jinzo, for instance. Gives them a little bit more time before an answer comes down to all this. But, I mean, Dump Truck's got to have some answers to this. I mean, they're playing main deck Dust Tornado, so they've got to be on a fair amount of spell and trap removal. Look like they're just going to set one here. Pass back to Gabibu Blondie. They will draw this turn because Time Seal is, no longer in effect here. But it's a very interesting game state for sure. I mean, yeah, Gabibu is going to switch the Clown to defense, pop the set, which is what you want to do there. Probably switching the Clown. Okay, it looks like they're saving the Clown to attack because they want the Dream Clown to be an attack, so that way they can get him for 12. I think that's fair. I don't hate that. But now Gabibu Blondie has another back row as well, which Dump Truck is probably not too happy about, all things considered. Reborn coming down here. Reborn is going to try and bring back Mechanical Chaser. This means there probably is something like a heavy in store for Gabibu. Tough to say. Gabibu is thinking that will be fine. So the Mechanical Chaser will come to the field here. MSC on the bind. And that will clear the bind. Okay, so now the Witch is going to get switched to attack. And Witch is going to attack into the Dream Clown. That will go through. That will also clear the call. And yeah, it will also clear the Crass, and both those spells are going to die. I think Time Seal was, like, okay. Well, I do think it is very low impact, Tyler County. I think that's definitely right. Like, I think it was okay at different points. But yeah, I don't think it was ever like super busted until like it got banned. I don't actually know the specific reason why it got banned. I think maybe there's like, oh, this could be a problem at some point. But yeah, I don't think it was ever like super busted. But I mean, then again, like I'm not familiar with the formats like Beyond Goat as much. I'm familiar with some of them, like Reaper format. I do know decently well. But yeah, I don't really know beyond that. Okay, looks like Danny won the match against Aratos here, so I'll put that in to the thing here. So it looks like Danny will be in the finals, facing off against either Dump Truck or Clody. And it looks like they switched the Rat to attack to hit over the Witch there. Witch will get a search here. No, like, Lillian's format, so no real burst damage from that. But there are things like Sangan, so you're still getting the resource train going. And if I was giving you Blondie, I'd be a little bit scared here, especially with no back row set. Now, Brigeki and Dark Hole are both used up, so you don't have to worry about that. But it's still a tough spot to be in. Sangan coming down here. Fisher getting rid of the Rat. That's going to be really good for Dump Truck here. They're going to attack over the set. It's a Tomato, so Tomato will be able to bring out a monster, but they've already used up 2 tomatoes, so not much left in deck. But yeah, Time Seal, I will say this about Time Seal, though, on the topic. Time Seal sees play in some of the forms of Fiber Jar because Fiber Jar resets everything, but it doesn't reset Time Seal because that's just a condition that's applied. So basically, if you're going for a Fiber Jar play, or if you want to be a bit more defensive against your opponent's Fiber Jar play, then you can use a Time Seal and stop them from getting that. It's kind of like Jar of Greed as well, where it's kind of just like a card that cycles itself, right? Whereas Jar of Greed replaces itself with one card that you draw, Time Seal replaces itself with one card that your opponent does not draw. So, yeah, not bad by any means. I think it should see play probably in like Android format to, I don't know, Yada format maybe. I think after Yada, there isn't really much use to using it because the game is just so fast paced at that point. And then when the ban list kicks in again, like then it can see play in Warrior format. But I think, yeah, I think those are the main times where it would be used. So Reborn here coming down for Dump Truck's Mechanical Chaser here. And it looks like they're going to tribute that off for other type in here. So maybe they're not going to bring back the Chaser. Maybe they're thinking a bit more. That's probably a bit scary for Dump Truck here. Oh, I think I see why they might be thinking. They could be thinking of bringing back the Banish for the Light in defense. Then you attack over the Sangam with the Witch, banish that, prevent Dumpster from getting a search here. That is possible. I don't think that's the best because then your own Witch doesn't get anything off that. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of that play, but yeah, I think the Mechanical Chaser play is probably correct. Use attack into their Chaser and then attack the Witch over the Sangan. So, yeah, I think this is correct. Like, the Banisher play is cute, but I don't think it's the best in the world. I mean, I guess they could have also been thinking about getting back one of their own tomatoes, but yeah, and White Magical Hat here, ripping a card out of hand. That's going to be potentially really good. So the Chasers are going to crash there. The Sangan is going to get killed by the Witch, and then the Hat will rip a card out of the hand. So dealing 100, Sangan going to search one, and searching out a Bug. So if that does go through, that's not bad. But Hat might rip that out of the hand here and, you know, make it a moot point. It rips out a Cannon Soldier. Oh, Dump Truck probably wanted to keep that Cannon Soldier around given that Gabibo is at such low life points. And Reborn is gone. Now, Call's also gone, Premat's gone, so no revival on Dump Truck's side. Change of Heart, though, is going to be pretty good here. Unfortunately, it's not the best. It does clear the Hat, but then setting the Bug is, like, not the best because it pops the Witch, and then, you know, people get to search off that. So, bit awkward. Sangan also coming down, so, like, realistically, doesn't really matter either way. Gabibo can order this whichever way they want to get the pop, right? Like, they're attacking into the Bug will pop Sangan. If they attacked in the other order, then, you know, Bug would pop Witch. So they could sort of choose whether they wanted to search off defense or attack. It looks like they're searching off attack. I'm not really sure what they're searching out here. It looks like they're going to Hayabusa. Wow. So it seems like a bit of a hodgepodge of cards there in the deck. And Dump Truck's thinking here. They got Snatch. Oh, that's really good for Dump Truck. Now, Gabibo could have a card in hand to clear the Witch, which would be pretty bad. Also, that Snatch is giving Gabibo 1,000 life points every turn. But this does stabilize quite a bit. No Mirror Force in Grave, so that's good to know about. Yeah, Gabibo's just going to set one. And this could be really bad. Okay, they're thinking. They're going to summon. Okay, yeah, summoning is definitely right. If they've got the rat to summon, then you want to summon the rat because you want to clear the Witch, get the search, and also deprive Dump Truck of a monster on field in case they draw something like Jinzo, for instance. So yeah, things are looking really bad for Dump Truck here. They're, like, it's not the end of the world. There are some things that they can draw to get them out of this situation. But realistically, it's not looking good. It's not looking good. Especially because they're probably going to draw into a fair amount of spell and trap removal now because they just were not drawing that in the early game when they needed it. And Painful is going to be pretty okay here. But I'm not sure they're a good 5 to send. It might be actually too late in the game for Painful to make a real difference here. Yeah, this might just be, I don't know, this might just be rough. It might be kind of over for Dump Truck here. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you got to fight the Painful. You got to do what you can, but it's not looking good. Not looking good at all. I mean, they could just scoop it up after seeing what's left in their deck too, because, you know, it's if we look at their graveyard, like pretty much all their power cards are in grave. I can't really think of any one card, let alone any 5, that would win them the game here. So, yeah, I don't know. Honestly, it might have been better to set the Painful, but they were dropping down to 150. Yeah, they realized there's no way for them to win. And that's going to wrap things up there. Yeah. Yeah, Gabibo just has so much in hand at that point. Yeah. I mean, it's better at this point not to reveal what's left in deck, so it makes sense why Dump Truck scooped it up there. Because, like, you don't want to reveal any more than you have to your opponent. So, yeah. And, yeah, the resources were just there, so it didn't really make a difference at that point. I think there wasn't really much Dump Truck could have done to play that game differently at that stage. But, yeah, I think it's just kind of rough, given that they're clearly on a fair amount of spell and trap removal, given the Dust Tornadoes being in the main. Now, they could potentially be prioritizing Dust Tornadoes over things like MST, because I was in the format. But, yeah, I feel like the fact that they're playing Dusternino means that they're also playing 3 MST. They could be on 2 and 2 potentially, but either way, it's still 4 spell and trap move cards from that. You also have things like heavy, which they might be on as well. If they weren't on heavy in the main first game, they're definitely on heavy in the main second game. So yeah, either way, that's going to definitely change how they side there in the future. But it looks like this is the only game we got right now, and then after this will be one more featuring Danny versus the winner of this one for the Locals Legend of this week. So that should be pretty fun as well. I'm trying to think if Danny has actually won a Locals Legend in the past. We keep sort of like a little Hall of Fame scoreboard here on the Discord. And it looks like Danny has won 1, and Dumfrick has won 7 total, and Clody has won 3. So, okay, so it looks like everyone still in the running has won at least one of these locals. But this will definitely be interesting because one player can potentially get another feather in their cap. And if Dumfrick wins this one, they'll actually take the lead from Aratos. Darkhold coming down here on the set, hitting a bug. That's honestly not that bad for Clody. Although potentially they might want to play that a little bit more safe, but it looks like they're trying to play around the bug if they could. Maybe that's a Faith set there to get back the Dark Hole anyways. But yeah, very aggressive play to start with. Dumfrick's going to set one of their own. Pass back to Gabibo. MST coming down for the back row. It is a heavy storm there. Oof. Trying to do the pro set, but getting a little bit punished for that. And set. Pass back to Dump Truck. Dumfrick's going to draw here. Flip up another bug, so they'll pop the new set there. Popping a Sangan. Yeah, I think in general, you generally want to go for the old set because the reason behind that is like people are committing more into your board, and the main reason why they commit more into the board is if they are not worried about the board wipe hitting the new monster, right? And so the main thing that people are going to set into a board like that is going to be Sangan or Witch. So yeah, I think probably the old set might have been a little bit better, but maybe Dumfrick figured, okay, well, the first set was not Crass Clown. We know Clody's on Crass Clown, so maybe the new set's Crass Clown, right? And Crass Clown bouncing coming back would be pretty good. Not coming down here, that must have been the draw. Hitting a Sangan. Oh, that is rough. Just everything's going wrong for Dumfrick here. Tomatoes getting flipped up on the bug there, Witch coming down as well to hit in. Yeah, this is just not going well. Dumfrick taking a fair amount of damage here very early on. And yeah, it's just going to be rough. And yeah, Clay's just going to pass back saying this board is probably good enough. And I think it probably is good enough. Looks like Dumfrick's going to set one, pass back to Gabibu Blondie here. Not looking good though. Not looking good at all. Change of heart on the set too. So oof, it is just rough out there. Really rough. Even if it's like Sangan or Witch, I mean, they're getting in for a ton of damage here. And it's bugged too. So yeah, even worse. Yeah, and Rack coming down as well. So yeah, this is just not going well. Yeah, this is 28-39. Yeah, that's brutal. That's a lot of damage to be taken this early in the game, especially in a format like this. Life points matter a lot more. And yeah, this might just be, all she wrote. Might just be Dumfrick cannot come back against this board. But yeah, Clody had the answers to everything. Forceful coming down as well to shuffle back that last card, shuffling back the Reborn here. The fact that they're going for Forceful means that they're probably not going to get aggressive over the Witch. MST coming down as well, hitting a Gravity Bind. Probably good to hit there. And now they're just going to set to pass back to Gabibo here. Yeah, not looking good. Battle phase, things are going to start hitting in. Rats hitting in. Hitting a Witch, so Witch will get a search here. But if Dumfrick doesn't have a way to clear the remaining monsters on board, then this will just be the end of the game. And yeah, looks like it probably will just be the end of the game. Yep, that is all she wrote. Yeah, brutal stuff. Brutal stuff indeed. Yeah, that's how it goes sometimes, though. Yeah, that was a rough game too. The good tomato artwork one. I agree that the TCG artwork is the better tomato artwork. Next Gen Zoomer. So yeah, like I don't know, the teeth just make it for me, the teeth are everything there. But it looks like our finals will be Clody versus Danny. Both of these players have won a locals before, and it'll be interesting to see who wins this one now. Let's see. I don't think they've hosted yet because it looks like Dump Truck versus Clodius. I think they're still talking maybe in the Discord, but it should potentially be good here. I'm just looking into the Discord just to check when this match is starting. But I'm excited for this finals match. Who do y'all think is going to win? Do you think it's going to be Danny or is it going to be Gabiba Balandi? Gabiba Balandi is on a bit of a different deck. It's on like, you know, Gravity Binds, Dream Clowns, things like that. Aiming to like shut down your opponent's attacks and then just get advantage off things like that. From what I've seen of Danny Droid's deck, which we haven't been able to feature them that much on the stream so far because they've just been ending their games so quickly. Seems like they're on a bit more of an aggressive deck. They're playing things like Rush Recklessly and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, it really could go either way. I'm not sure which way it will go. What do you all think? Do you think that this sort of off meta deck's going to win, or do you think the more aggressive deck is going to win? I'm excited to find out whenever they start hosting. We could also just jump into watching another person host, I guess. If I had a Trooper PC deck, maybe I'd hop in there for a quick game. But yeah, it looks like Danny and Gabibo are gonna be jumping in real soon, and they might have just both canceled their games while when they saw the other one. It's always funny. It's like when you're walking down a hallway and like you walk like in the path of someone else, and you're like, oh, sorry, and then you both move the same direction to try and get around each other. It's kind of like that with here. It's always awkward, and then it's just like it keeps going, and like you keep going. Oh, sorry, I'll go this way, and then it's like, oh, I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but I'm an awkward enough guy where that does happen generally pretty frequently. Both players saying the good lucks, and it looks like Clody or Gabi Bolandi will be going first here. I believe both players are playing the TCG Mystic Tomato artwork, so who knows who's going to win this one? It could be anyone. They got no idea what to do. They're so used to going second. It's a bit tricky sometimes going first. Looks like they're just going to set 2, pass back to Danny. And what's Danny going to do here? I assume they're going to draw. That will be generally how most people start their turns. But what are they going to do following? Could be a little bit of lag here. You know, it's never out of the question with DB. Okay, looks like the draw will go through there. And what's Danny going to do? They're shuffling. Oh, you got to shuffle up that hand. Go for knock. Knock is pretty brutal. Just coming down right out of the gate. Hitting a Sangan. That's pretty good hit there. Not a flip monster, but still you're depriving your opponent from getting powerful monsters, getting that resource train going. So very good stuff there. And the fact that they did that, okay, it looks like they are going to go for Chaser here. I figured that they'd wait to use the knock once they'd summon the Mechanical Chaser, because either way they might get aggressive, but they could have potentially had a different option if Gabibo had an Ios that they had in the macro there. So, yeah, looks like Danny's just going to set 1, set 2 of their own and pass back to Gabibo. Maybe they have the read that the set is not Heavy Storm and that Gabibo will not want to storm their own macro. We'll have to see what Gabibo does here. But Danny definitely getting off to an aggressive start. A sword's coming down here. And that will be fine by Danny. Will Gabibo summon out Clown? Nope, it's just going to set 2, pass. And Danny's going to draw there. What are they going to do now, though? Definitely tricky, because that set could be a variety of things that would make things pretty rough for Danny here. Heavy Storm getting fired, and that's going to clear a trap hole of Danny's. Also going for a Painful here, sending 5 good ones potentially. I wonder what they're going to send. There's a couple different options here. Yep, looks like the hand rips are getting sent as well. So the hand rips are always good to send. Sending Comfy, the Forceful, the Duo. But what are the other 2 going to be? That's always the question in this format. Jinzo is generally a good option to send, because then you can revive that back to your side of the field. But you also might not want to give your opponent the option of having that Raider revive. A lot of choices here for that last 2, especially because you don't know what the set is on Gabibo's part yet. I honestly think it might have been better to attack into Gabibo's set here, just to see what's going on there, and then do the painful just to, you know, decide what to get. Yeah, this is exactly 5. So it looks like they're going to send Raigeki, Pot, Duo, Forceful, Comfy. That's a tough selection to pick from for Gabibo. And Danny's going high octane, you know? He's like, we're not messing around here. I want to kill you soon. I want to get something good here. So, you know, give me one of these broken cards. And that's sort of like, some people don't choose to send things like Pot or Raigeki because they're just good, no matter what. But yeah, looks like Gabibo is going to let Danny take the Comfy here. I think that is a decent choice. Well, the Comfy is not necessarily getting fired now. You probably want to save the Comfy until after you attack into the set. Maybe this is just a way to make Danny misplay. Maybe this is actually just yeah, I mean, I don't know. This is kind of weird. Generally, you don't want to just do this because Danny might attack it in the set first. Like if I was playing this, I would have attacked it in the set first. Because if the set is Witch or Sangan, you might want to take whatever Gabibo searches out of the deck here. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this. I think it might be putting the cart before the horse. It also might mean that Gabibo doesn't have a recruiter set. If they do have a recruiter set, this is kind of like I don't know. This is kind of edge shooting a little bit, like, because it's just kind of like scummy just to be like, oh, you're activating it right away. But yeah, looks like they're just going to hit over Tomato and you know, get out probably either another Tomato or a Witch or a Sangan. Yeah, looks like they're gonna get out a Sangan. Yeah, I think either way, like there is a world where Danny keeps the Comfy in hand instead of firing it right away because the Sangan's online now. And if they want to save the Comfy for whatever the Sangan searches, that might be an option. But I think honestly, it probably is better they go for the Comfy before, you know, just the Sangan does anything. But like, I don't know. There is a world in which they choose to do that. So, so it looks like the Hayabusa is left in hand, one set in the back row. Does that back row do anything, though? That's the question. Sangan coming down here. So either way, you know, they can clear the Sangan, unless it's Mirror Force. But, yeah, I guess Mirror Force would be kind of rough for Danny, but, like, either way here, you know, you're getting a search off Sangan, so it doesn't really matter that much. But Sangan going to hit over the Sangan. What will Sangan search? It will search out a Giant Rat. That's going to potentially get into a Dream Clown or something like that. Mechanical Chaser attacking in for 1850. That will indeed go through, dropping Gabibo Bellani down to 4,300. A very aggressive pace of play. And it looks like Gabibo's sort of on the back foot this game. They're going to set one, pass back to Danny. That's very likely the Giant Rat. Giant Rat can search out a Dream Clown, which Sangan cannot get over. So, a bit of a tricky spot for Danny. They need to think about whether they want to hit into it. Looks like they're already going to hit into that set. It is indeed the Giant Rat. Giant Rat will probably bring out Dream Clown here because Sangan can't deal with Dream Clown. And then that Dream Clown can deal with the Mechanical Chaser next turn. But Danny might be fine taking that loss there of the Mechanical Chaser because they might have other things in hand, other follow-up plays. So we'll have to see exactly what they do. Going to main 2, they could also have Fisher in hand. They could have other things. But yeah, they're just going to switch that Sangan into defense. I'll go for Snatch on Dream. Okay. I was going to say, like, I don't really like switching Sangan to defense because the idea here is that, like, you leave Sangan in attack because then they have to choose between popping one of your cards. They could bring in Hayabusa for the follow-up to crash into Sangan, but then it does crash into Sangan. It doesn't actually, you know, attack in for another 1,000. So, but I think this makes some sense. It looks like a Giant Rat's coming down here. Danny unfortunately disconnects. The lag gets to them. No, I think they were in a good spot here. I think they probably would have won this. Okay, it looks like they are back. Yeah. So, yeah, it looks like Giant Rat coming out, and that will just attack into something here. Is it going to attack into the Clown? Probably into the Clown, I assume, because Clown can pop the Rat, and you want the Rat online to bring out another Clown. If they do have another Clown, which they probably do if they're making this play, but maybe not. But yeah, that will go through there. And then main 2, they're just going to pass back to Danny. So we know Hayabusa in hand. We don't know the other one. And we don't know the set either. So tricky situation for Danny here because they had the Snatch to deal with the Clown last time, but they don't have a Snatch this time. So what are they going to do? Are they going to just hit into the Rat and deal with it that way? maybe saying like, oh, they don't have another Dream Clown. Dream Clown's a one of that you search off the rat. Bit of a tricky spot for sure. Oh, also as a note, I should mention the players are on 9 cards in the extra deck and 0 cards in the extra deck. I feel like you should be on something in the extra deck. You never want to give your opponent more information than they might not have. So if they know that you're not on a fusion deck, they might play differently. I mean, realistically, it's like a narrow edge case, but it can come up. So yeah, looks like the Mechanical Chaser is going to attack into the rat there. Then 450, and now probably another clown's coming out. Yep, another clown has come out. Main 2, what is Danny gonna do? And it looks like Danny's just gonna pass, so that clown is able to just go to town, popping the Mechanical Chaser. Hayabusa will be able to come out and hit over the Sangan and attack directly. I think the Sangan should have just been left in attack, honestly. But I don't know. That's just me. I think Painful Choice could come back off the ban list if it banished the other cards face down instead of to the graveyard? I don't right now because that would make kind of like Kashtira kind of busted, right? Like you give them like because Painful's kind of a starter. You just send 5 starters, right? And you also get free face down banishes. So like, I don't know. I'm not sure if that's. I think that's how Kashtira works, right? Like as I mentioned, I don't play the modern metagames, but I do like to keep sort of up to date on what's going on there. And yeah, I think that would be a bit too busted, but yeah, if it bans face down, it might be able to come back though. Like if there wasn't something like Kashtira in the game, maybe it would be okay. Because the big reason why Painful's banned now is because there's just so many ways to get things going by sending 5 cards to your graveyard. So many things can trigger engrave, and it is just absolutely busted if you're able to do that. But if it banished face down, so then you can't use those cards again later, then that would make it a lot better, I think. So, or a lot better in terms of like, you know, reasonable in the metagame, right? Like people wouldn't say like, oh, that's a completely busted card. They just say, oh, that's a really good card. But do you really want to play this thing that like you need to have exactly 5 cards in your deck to actually make it worth playing there? But I mean, to be fair, I'm sure people would like, if that was how it worked, people would like lab out how to build decks so that way you have the 5 Painful Choice targets, like no matter what you're playing, right? People would like map the combo lines out for that. But I think it would be a lot more okay coming back like that. But I'm sure I'm probably wrong there. And someone else who knows more about the modern game could probably let me know in the comments. But I think it would be interesting to see, like maybe for a format if they eroded it like that. Because I think that would be more similar to how it was in the old days, where it's like the card is meant to say, okay, you get one of these powerful cards, but the other 4 are gone from your deck, right? And you don't really have good access to them. So I think that it would be pretty interesting to sort of bring it back to that original feeling, because nowadays, like face down banish is kind of like trap holding. Yeah, that's lethal. Okay, yeah. I was gonna be like trap holding that. That's crazy, but yeah, you do what you got to do, and that was what they had to do there because of lethal. Unfortunately, the other Mechanical Chaser is also lethal, so yeah, that's how it goes. But yeah. Man, now that we're having this conversation, I really want to see those hypothetical like combo lines mapped out where they're like, okay, if you're playing Snake Eyes Fire King, like, and you draw Painful Choice and you have like Ash in hand already, you go Painful Choice sending, these cards, and I don't know, that would be really, really interesting to see. I'm curious what the lines for that would look like. Maybe I should start using Twitter more. Maybe I'll ask that question on Twitter and see what people say. I feel like Twitter is a good way to engage with the broader Yu-Gi-Oh community, even if Twitter itself is kind of like, a cesspool. But I do want to start using it more to sort of promote these, videos and the tournaments and things like that. So maybe it would be something good to post there. But yeah, I don't know. It's very interesting. And it's one of those fields where like, I feel like I'm pretty knowledgeable about the game of Yu-Gi-Oh as a whole. Like I do my best to keep up to date with the modern metagame. And also, going through these old formats like really in depth. I feel like I do know a fair bit, but like there are some things that I'm just like, well, I know a fair bit, but like I don't know about that yet. And like that's definitely one of those things for me. But yeah, I'm excited to learn though, because I do plan on eventually reaching the modern day formats. And I think at that point, I'll probably have a better idea of this sort of thing. But it will be a while away. It will take a long time to get there. I mentioned earlier in the stream, though, that like I do think a lot of the formats coming up will go a little bit quicker than some of the formats I've been covering already, because a lot of them are like very similar. Like, that's not to say that there weren't any DM era formats that were similar as well, because there are some DM era formats that are very similar. But given this sort of like power staples that are getting introduced into the game around this time, you do have a lot of them where like it does change the game in like very drastic ways, and every deck is changed, right? Yeah. Yeah, it is kind of wild. I mean, I think honestly, the fact that Chaos Monsters existed at the same time Painful Choice is why they ultimately banned it, because they were like, well, Painful Choice just sets up the graveyard for Chaos decks, and that is busted. So we can't let this card be around anymore. But I do think in Warrior format, it is a pretty decent card. Like, I know that people have sort of, or I don't know, one of my commenters on one of my videos said, like, in my Warrior video where they were like, I can't believe you're saying that Painful Choice is a skillful card, because it's just so busted and stuff. And I think that there is a bit of truth in that, where like it is kind of busted if you're playing a Chaos deck and you just send the Chaos setup and Sinister Serpent, and then it's like, well, you get Sinister Serpent in rotation, you got the Lights and Darks in rotation, you can bring in a Chaos Monster. That's pretty busted, but a lot of decks aren't using it for that. And also, a lot of times if you're playing those Chaos decks, like, you don't necessarily have the 5 cards exactly that you want to send for that. And you don't necessarily have the Chaos Monsters in hand either, because in Warrior format, there's no real ways to search them out. So it does make it a bit more interesting card there. And I think also in a lot of other decks, like, it really does take a lot of skill to use. It takes a lot of like playing with the deck a lot and figuring out what are the cards that I need to actually send here. But yeah, it looks like things are going a little bit better for Gabibu Balandi here. Getting off a Magician of Faith, getting off this Delinquent Duo again is obviously very strong. And ripping 2 cards out of Danny's hand, oh, that's going to be pretty rough for them. It might be a little bit tough for them to recover for sure. Looks like they're going to pick the middle one. Looks like it's lagging a bit. Oh, hitting another bug is pretty good, I think. I mean, there are ways that Gabibu can play around bug a little bit, but bug is probably one of the better picks in the hand there. But that Moth is a bit vulnerable, and Gabibu Balandi is down a fair amount of life points, so that's going to be pretty rough. But yeah, I am curious, like, if Painful Choice was legal, like, as you say, like, I'm sure that someone would build the right deck to break it, because it is very powerful, and it does something very unique. Like, if you think about how powerful Foolish Burial was, or Gold Sark was, like, the reason why those cards were so strong was because, well, I mean, they're strong individually for, like, what they do already, but, like, there were specific decks that, like, broke them in specific ways, and made them much, much more powerful than they were at a baseline level. And so I'm sure that the same would exist for Painful there. So Painful can help Danny Droid a bit here to get back into the game. But it's tough. It's going to be a tough 5 to send. For sure. Yeah, it also depends on the last card in hand. Like, is it a monster? Is it just another powerful spell or trap? Like, who knows what that is? And it looks like it's going to... Okay, looks like Witch is going to get sent as well. We could just be seeing some Witches and Sangens sent here as the last of the quintuple here. And those wouldn't be bad, because then you attack over the Faith, get in some damage, get some more monsters later. So, yeah, I think here, it is tough to say. It really depends on what the Gabibu Balandi's set is. Okay, Pot's getting sent as well. It's a very powerful card. A lot of strong cards here. Yeah, no, I'm happy to help literally garbage. Yeah, I mean, and again, like, I'm saying that I will get to those formats eventually, but I don't think that everyone watching these things has to, like, accompany me all the way on the Yu-Gi-Oh journey. Like, I do really like these old formats, and I want to shine a spotlight on them, because I feel like a lot of the time they sort of languish in the shadows. Like, not many people know about Imperial Format, or many of the other formats that I feature on the channel. So it's good to provide people with more options to play the game that they love. And if people just want to stay in the DM era or the 5Ds era or whatever era they want to be in, that is perfectly fine. I'm just trying to provide as many different ways to play the game for people as possible. So I'm glad that you're enjoying it. And yeah, hopefully even if I move, well, even when I move on to GX, which I'm doing relatively soon, next week I should be starting GOAT coverage. Even when I move on to that, hopefully we'll still have the DM eras, still getting support, still going. I mean, a lot of them have their own Discords now where they run their own tournaments. Like Fiber recently wrapped up a monthly today. which was very cool to see. And okay, knock will hit rat there, so that's pretty good for Danny, just getting that out of the way. It's more damage, more searching. So, oh, and the trap hole for their own rat. That's pretty rough. They're down to nothing now, but it is what it is. But yeah, hopefully we can get more interest in these formats. Hopefully they'll just continue to grow. And I like my ideal world for Yu-Gi-Oh is like there's like any format that people want to play, there's something out there. There's a community out there that wants to play it and host tournaments. So that way, like any style of the game that you want to play, there are always people out there ready to play it. That's my ideal. Obviously, it won't happen like soon or maybe even ever, but that would be what I strive for. Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah, like if you watch my videos, you also don't have to play the game now. Sometimes it can be fun to reminisce and see the old cards and archetypes running as you remember them. So yeah. Yeah, part of why I started the channel was because I was like very nostalgic myself. Like I used to play the game. I hadn't played for a while. But then I was watching things like, CMO's Progression series and the History of Yu-Gi-Oh series. And that got me more invested in, actually trying to go back and revisit these myself and playing them and sort of building the community around this. So, yeah, that's sort of my origin story for this. And I'm happy if I can give people the same joy that I got while watching, like CMO's channel and like anyone doing things like in the retro Yu-Gi-Oh sphere. So, Fortunate Ladybug of Doom getting flipped up, popping that Mechanical Chaser. Very interesting card there. I didn't see the most play, but, when it does come up, it can be pretty good. Pre-mat also coming down here. Probably bring back the, bring back your rat, so that way you're getting in damage, but also you're potentially a bit more insulated than if you bring back something like Hayabusa, right? Hayabusa is a 2-turn clock, but realistically, everything gets over Hayabusa, so you don't necessarily want that to die to things. But yeah, just setting one passing, so it looks like Gabiba Balani is in a pretty good spot here. They won't quite win this turn, but they're getting pretty close. And if they've got a cancel in hand, they can potentially press that lethal amount of damage. Also, 1,000 life points left. That means that things like Comfy are shut off. Things like Delinquent Duo are shut off. So, yeah, definitely rough stuff for Danny here. Might just be the end of the game, honestly. Yeah, it's just rough. I don't necessarily see... I mean, there are some ways that Danny comes back from this, but there are many, many more ways that Gabiba Balani wins the game here. So... they're thinking, though. They're checking their graveyard. And, we have seen some pretty good top decks from Danny Droid here. We saw, like, Heavy Storm come down. Rat coming down here, so the Rat can hit over the Fortress of Doom. That's pretty good. And if we look at Gabiba Balani's graveyard, or I guess Banish Zone, one Rat is banished already. One Rat's on field. Danny also has one Rat there, so no one's really winning the Rat Wars. Okay, looks like Danny is just going to go for the Rat Wars, though. Just trying to deck then a bit. Like, I think that makes sense. And also you can attack over Ladybug with whatever monster you bring out last, right? So Rat's going to come out here. Another Rat's probably going to come out from Danny as well, unless they're only playing 2 for some reason. If they are only playing 2 for some reason, then that's a bit awkward. But I think this is probably the right play overall. But we'll have to see what they're on. No Exiled Force in this format. No Injection Fairy Lily in this format. So none of those to go into. Realistically, there aren't too many Earth targets to bring out off of Rat. Nimble Manga is a target that could potentially get Danny back into the game a bit more. Yeah, Danny's probably wondering here, do I bring out like Dream Clown? Or do I crash the Rat into their Rat again? Because if I do that, then they bring out Dream Clown, and then they can pop whatever I bring out off my Rat next turn. So, yeah, the Rat should not be gone here. The Ladybug is. This is a bit awkward, though. So, part of why it's awkward is because Danny did have potential out to Gabiba Balani's Rat with an MST. Oh, well, Dark Hole's probably just going to be the end of the game here, I assume. Unless the set is like Trap Hole exactly. Sangag coming down. Trap Hole exactly. Okay, so saying we'll get a search here, though. So Danny has one turn to find a way out of this scenario. Not many things do it. They do know exactly what Gabiba Balani has in hand here, but they are going to be drawing for turn as well, and that could easily get them a card that wins them the game. So, yeah, tough spot. Tomato here coming down. Tomato's going to be one tomato in Danny's grave, no tomatoes in Gabiba Balani's grave. So Gabiba Balani can win the tomato war there, but they can't quite deal lethal damage through this unless they have another card here to deal with what Danny's got. Oh, well, that will be lethal damage. Axe of Despair on the tomato. That's 2,400 exactly. Attacking over the Mystic Tomato for 1,000 exactly. Very intense ending there. It really was like down to the wire in the end there. There were plenty of things though that lost Danny that game. So, Axe was just one of them. But it was cool to see like them just continue to like claw their way forward, trying to get a victory out of the jaws of defeat there. I mean, signings going on here. I feel like Danny had a decent side deck planned, but I think that was more just getting duo twice, right? And that can happen if you go first. You can set up that duo into Faith, into duo, and just completely annihilate your opponent's hand, as we saw there. So I'm curious to see what will happen in game 3 now that Danny is going first and will potentially be able to avoid that fate. Of course, they're playing going second tools as well. Knock, for instance. I mean, both players seem to be playing Knock in the main already, but if you're only on one Knock, you might go up to 2 because your opponent's likely going to set a monster first turn. And being able to Knock, summon a monster attack in, that's going to be very good. Yeah, so there are some interesting sort of facets to side decking when you're going first or second. Side decking in a lot of these GM era formats is very interesting because you don't sort of do it the way that you do in Modern, right? With Modern, you're like, okay, I have these cards in the side deck for this deck, I have these cards in the side deck for this deck, etc. In this format, there are some of those, to be sure. Like, for instance, if you're not playing heavy in the main, you have heavy in the side for decks like Give You Belandi's deck that are playing these floodgates like Gravity Bind. But, oftentimes a lot of the decks are playing the same stuff. So realistically, you have a lot of cards in your side deck or a lot of slots in your side deck that will be free after you've put in sort of the silver bullets for the specific decks. So those can be like, okay, if you're going first or second, those can be like, okay, my opponent's playing, more aggressively than a lot of my other opponents. So I sort of put in more defensive things. There are a lot of sort of facets to side decking the DM era that's very interesting. And I think it's one of the most skill intensive parts of playing the DM era. I know it's definitely the thing that I am worst at. I'm worst at side decking in these formats and any format really. Like side decking is generally my biggest flaw in playing these games. But I think it is a very important skill to learn, and it's one that I'm trying to get better at. But it often does come from like just grinding out a format a lot and figuring like, okay, what are the cards in my deck that I'm taking out for this specific thing? What are the cards I'm taking out of my deck for this specific thing? And just committing to that and testing it out. That's why in things like GOAT format or Edison format, etc., side decking is down to much more of a science, right? Because like people have done the matchups enough to know like, okay, I need this for Black Wings, I need this for Hero, I need this for whatever, right? And so people have sort of figured that out a little bit better, and it's a bit more precise there. And when the meta game is figured out as well, so like you have more of an idea of what you might be facing, the side decking also gets a lot easier. So duo hitting an IO, that's really, really good. And an axe getting pitched as well. And Danny's going to set one, set another, and pass back to Give Belandi here. Hitting the IO is just brutal there. Yeah, that's really rough. IO's probably the strongest card in the format, in my opinion. It's honestly one of the strongest cards in most DM era formats that it's in. Easily the most toxic card in the DM era, in my opinion. Like, which is kind of wild to think about given all the other powerful cards running around. But the thing about IO is it's like a one-sided floodgate. You get to choose when to shut it off. And just being able to shut down your opponent's stuff and not having much counterplay to it is just brutal. That's why more people have started playing Dust Tornado in their decks in a lot of these formats, because Dust Tornado can deal with IO. And so sometimes you just want ways to do that. So it looks like the shoe is on the other foot here. Danny's going to be able to use that duo with the Moth there on Give You Belandi here. And yeah, so it's almost like poetic justice, but this game might also not really be much of a game. But it's kind of cool to see. Sometimes that does happen in the DM era. But I don't feel too bad about this on either player's parts, because both players did this to each other over the course of these games. So yeah, it looks like they're going to attack in for just 2150. Yep, okay. Looks like they caught the life point discrepancy there. But still, 5850 is a pretty low life point total. Now, Danny's only at 6,000 because they did use duo twice. But, yeah, I mean, it's still, like, even if the life points are relatively equal, like, the clock is shortened, right? The game can end much more quickly, much more explosively as well. So, looks like Ibu Balani does have a set here. Now, they did pitch the Rat as a choice off the duo. That could have been because the knock wasn't activated yet. It could also be because they had another thing like rat or tomato, or they had Cyberjar. Cyberjar will indeed blow up the field, get 5 cards into each player's control or grip, whatever you want to do there. And oof, Danny better hope that they've got a heavy, because that is a lot of back row there. It looks like they've got Sangan, Tomato, Painful, and Tomato. Unfortunately, none of these can get through a set rat. So that is rough for Danny for sure. But yeah, it looks like he is going to bring them on an attack in case Gibibo does want to do the rat crashing challenge. But realistically, Gibibo is just going to set the rat. Yeah, they're just setting the rat. Because 1450 walls off the tomatoes, so can't get through here. But yeah, that is a lot of back row in hand. And a pre-mat as well to bring back other stuff. You don't necessarily want to go for pre-mat when you got things like Gravity Bind in the grip, but it is what it is. And Sangan going to come out as well in defense this time. Snatch getting added to hand there. Painful getting added to hand as well. And yeah, Painful is interesting here. Because you could send a bunch of spell and trap removal, because now you know he was on spell and trap removal in hand, or on floodgates in hand. But if you do that, then you lose out on the spell and trap removal later. And you don't necessarily want to lose too much spell and trap removal, because then you could potentially lose the game. Now, that being said, if we do the math here, this is 4,200 plus 1,000. So if you do manage to get a heavy in hand, then that could be lethal damage coming down here on the following turn, depending on what else Danny has in hand. So it might be the move to just try and get heavy in hand, or try and get the forcefuls and stuff like that. Yeah, Sangan is indeed set, which can come up in case Gibu draws a trap hole, something like that, to then pop the Sangan once it's flip summoned, but probably won't matter too much. It could also, like a knock could get rid of it too. Yeah, realistically, I feel like you're generally fine. Just bring out Sangan and attack, but I don't know. So it looks like they are sending heavy. They're sending Fisher as well. Yeah, again, it is an interesting choice here, because you're losing that up for later. Sending a Cannon Soldier also is really good, because it gets you another form of damage. So you're able to sort of, even if you can't attack in, you can just keep tripping off your monsters and get going that way. Cannon Soldier is getting added to hand there. I think that's a fine pick. But yeah, heavy engraved now, so any moths can get back that heavy, and that'd be pretty decent for Danny here, given what we know of Gibibu Balani's hand. But very tricky spot to play around for both players, really, because Gibibo knows that Danny knows what they've got, right? MST coming down on a trap hole, which is not really the most useful right there. Dream Clown coming down as well. Dream Clown probably going to hit into the set Sangan. Swords also flipping up that Sangan. Okay, choosing not to hit into it to make some sense. But yeah, the Sangan is face up. Don't think it will matter. Might matter. Looks like neither player have caught that, but again, probably won't matter. Hopefully won't matter. If Danny does have a way to clear the swords right now, then they do win the game, because what they do here is they clear the swords, go for snatch on the rat, bring out Cannon Soldier, and then they win. That's more than enough damage. Okay, it looks like they do indeed catch the set Sangan discrepancy there. But yeah, Sangan is face up. Okay, it looks like it's going to be another pass back to Gibibo here. So it looks like they don't have a way to clear the swords yet, but Gibibo has to know that, like, if Danny does draw a way to get rid of around the swords, then they do win the game. So it looks like they're going to pop a tomato there. I think they still win the game if yeah, I think they still win the game if they have a way to get around swords here, because what they do is they take rats, they summon a cannon, they switch Sangan to attack. Sangan attacks over the Dream Clown, attacking for 4,200, and then that's 2,000 more damage on top of it. So, yeah, if they can lure the swords, they win. And Danny probably knows this. That's probably part of why they sent the cannon, because they got the snatch. They can make some explosive plays here if they're able to. They just need a way to clear the swords, and unfortunately, it does not look like they've got one. They're going to set 2, pass back to Gibibo Balandi here, and that's turn 2 on swords, so good to keep in mind. But yeah, definitely awkward stuff here for sure. Yeah, okay, they caught the turn 2 on swords. Yeah, okay, it looks like they're just going to pass back, saying, you know, I don't need to attack into that Sangan, give you a surge here. I can just leave the Dream Cloud and attack. Again, I think this is still lethal if Gabibo has a way to clear the swords. Because what you do is you get rid of the swords, you snatch the rat. That's 16 plus 1,000, 2,600 plus 1,400 brings you up to 4,000, then 2,000 more damage off the cannon soldier. So if they do have a way to clear the swords, they win the game. But that is a big if. You know, but they do have a way to construct that. I mean, they're probably on the 3 MSTs. They're probably on some Dust Tornadoes. They're probably on another copy of Heavy. So they could easily have a way to get around those swords. If they don't, then that's kind of rough. But they also might not see the line if they have a way to get around swords, right? They could just be trying to wait it out for... Okay, it looks like they're going to go for the cannon now. So this means that they probably have a way to get around swords. I would assume, if they're going for this line right now. What are they going to do here? Now, it would not make sense for them to have pro set heavy because, again, as I outlined last turn, they did have a way to win the game there. So if they pro set heavy, they can't have a pro set heavy. They might have set a snatch steal here, and if they do draw heavy as a way to out the swords, then that's going to be bad because what you have to do is you have to snatch steal the rat first, tribute it off with cannon soldier, then go for the heavy. But obviously that doesn't win you the game on the spot. So it's a bit awkward. Then the binds are still up as well. Okay, it looks like they do have the snatch for the rat. Or maybe they're going to go for the clown. Okay, you can go for the clown as well. Honestly, this is probably better if you do have heavy in hand to clear the swords. No! Why are you doing that? Switch the clown to defense. Oh, no. I mean, they might have change in hand. No! Oh, no. Oh, that hurt to see. Yeah, so what you want to do there is you want to snatch the clown, switch it to defense, pop the rat, and then you want to tribute it off. Because now what they can do, they can switch the rat to attack into this cannon soldier, and get another card. So I was, that hurt. I mean, they could be baiting out the rat attack. Like, maybe they got Mirror Force. Yeah, they got Mirror Force. But, like, realistically, like, what you want to do is you want to save the Mirror Force for a different attack. Because you can clear the rat on its own. Oh, no. Oh, that hurt to watch. But... I mean, it is what it is. And that happens in these games. Like, you got to keep in mind as well, both these players have been playing for a while, right? It's 2 hours into the stream. They've been playing for that 2 hours. It is tough to remember all that and to keep, like, in tip-top shape and, like, play at, like, at the highest level after 2 hours. So, yeah, I mean, it is rough. But, yeah, it could be heavy coming down here. If heavy comes down, then that is... Oh, Premat coming down. Okay. Premat can bring back the clown. And... Oh, Io coming down. Io's going to be really good there, stopping the Premat there. Okay, it looks like they're just going to set one and pass. Yeah, I mean, that set could be a variety of things. It could be a Crass. It could be... There are a lot of things it could be. It could be another rat. It could be a tomato. Looks like Danny is going to keep up the Imperial Order. So that means that they won't be able to stop Gravity Bind if it goes into effect here. Yeah, they will be somewhat safe there. Now, they're going to bring out a rat here. They're just going to bait out the Gravity Bind, I guess. Yeah, it looks like Gravity Bind is going to get fired there. Nothing they can do to stop that because the IO is still up. But right now, maybe they will tribute off the Sangan. Get that search, just start getting the damage in. Nope, they're just going to leave the board as is. I will stop a big board wipe at least, so there is that. But again, you don't have a way to stop like a rat crashing into a cannon. Moth will get back a spell here, but spell to shut off by IO, so it's a bit awkward going for Premat there. I think honestly they could have brought back swords maybe, because what you do is you activate swords, and then Danny has to decide, okay, do I let the IO go and then the sword's still up, or do I keep it up and just have to attack into their set with the Sangan? So, okay, they're going to let the IO go here, which means that they probably have a way to deal with this, right? They probably have heavy or something like that. Okay, they're going to tribute off the Sangan with the cannon soldier, probably add another Sangan or like a clown. Oh, Jinzo also is... No, you can't search Jinzo with Sangan. Jinzo's 1500 defense. No, you can't do this. Illegal. No, I need to message them. They're it might not have mattered, but I was too late. I was too late. Did I not send? Did that not send? Did that not send? No, no. Oh damn. That was scuffed. Did that really not send? Thought okay, I did send. Sent too late. Okay, I do think that Danny was gonna win that one anyways. I think they had more inevitability. But yeah, that is unfortunate. Oh well, I mean they didn't notice in time. Yeah, both are tired. Again, like they've been playing for like 2 hours, right? And neither of them caught it. So like technically this is accepted game state. But like they've been playing for 2 hours. I've been just commentating, much easier to do than playing at a high level, as both these players have been doing, because they both played very well over the course of the game. But yeah, it's just like when it gets to this time of night. Also, you got to consider like either the. I mean, I think Gabi Bolani is in Europe, but if Danny didn't like, actually Europe is probably like 4 a.m. Like so, yeah. I mean, and if Danny's in like the EST or something, then it's 11 p.m. right now. So yeah, it's late at night. So these things are gonna happen that way anyways. But either way, it looks like both players have decided that this will be the end of the game. So I guess we're going.
Yeah, I couldn't make it.
Yeah. So saying can search out Jinzo. So
Not much I could do, to be honest. He had he had it since a long time. Like I just was looking if I could get an out before he was
yeah, I
he
think
would find out he could do that.
I think that Danny had inevitability here. So I do think that Danny was going to win this game, regardless. Especially because what they could do is they could just tribute Sangan search Witch and then set up for the Witch search Jinzo play next turn, right? So
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, realistically, they were winning that game there. But still, very, very cool stuff from both players. And yeah, I mean, like you showed that this deck is pretty cool, and you can like Gravity Bind's coming up. I'm not the biggest fan of things like Bind, like in the clown control strategy. I think things like, I don't know, like Rush Recklessly and stuff are a little bit better because then serves as additional removal and stuff. And Bind is cleared by like MST, and people are playing 3 MST to deal with IO. But you did show that like the deck can shut down decks if they're not prepared for it, or if they just don't draw into this bone trap removal, which does happen occasionally.
yeah, the thing is it's kind of like a meta call because the people is ditching the heavy storms in the main deck. So what if you just main deck the gravity binds? So like you punish people not playing heavy storm.
Yeah, exactly.
Like make the deck work at all.
Yeah, these will be the sort of things that I think like if this format ever gets like a more defined metagame, like if more tournaments are held after the one we're holding tomorrow, which if you enjoyed this gameplay, definitely head on over to the YGF from Zero Discord and sign up for that. That'll be a multi-day event, so no need to just spend your entire Saturday doing it. You'll have plenty of time to schedule the matches for that. But if there are more tournaments after that and people adjust their deck building, things like that based on that, I definitely think that this could be more sort of viable in the format or less viable depending on how meta shifts go. So it'll definitely be interesting to see. Now, of course, this deck definitely suffers after siding, so that's something to consider. But a lot of decks suffer after siding, so that not necessarily the worst thing in the world for that.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is that I lost more game ones than the game two and threes. To be fair, like in overall, for some reason, the deck is still solid after all, but I don't know. Yeah, of course, like good stuff. I think has still an edge because can just be down to anything. So easy. I hope Danny is coming as well, so like maybe
I
can
think
give
I'm not
some
sure if Danny will
feedback.
be coming, but I'll probably be signing off soon. But great to have you back in these locals. I know that you used to play a lot of them a while ago, but recently things have not aligned to allow you to play them as much. But I'm happy you were able to show up for this one. And yeah,
Thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, like, I think it was fun. Sadly, like, usually I don't have, like, the scheduling is a bit difficult for me, usually in locals, but this week I'm on holidays, so you know what I mean? Like, I just could join this one. And I'm glad to it because, like, it might help me decide whether, like, bringing this tomorrow or, like, just, you know, like, bring in something else.
Yeah, and that's part of the thing. The one of the downsides to me not being able to play in these locals is that I don't get to bring my stuff. I don't get to test out my decks that I'm bringing in the
Yeah,
tournaments. But
yeah, fair enough. You
it
can test the spice, you know.
yeah, it's a worthy sacrifice though if I'm able to um sort of allow other people to do it and get the word out there on these formats and on these streams. So,
Yeah,
um,
it's definitely content anyway, so like
oh yeah, and
nice.
it's a
Well,
good way to sort of like because after I
mm,
move on from these formats, then I'm obviously not producing videos for them as much. So it's a good way to give people some the taste of some fun gameplay that they're not necessarily getting from my main content if they want Imperial gameplay, right? So, um,
mm, underrated format, by the way.
yeah, I like Imperial. I think it is pretty good. Um, I think it's got its flaws, just like any other DM era format or any
Yeah,
format in the game.
absolutely.
Period.
Yeah,
Um, but I do think it's fun. I think it hasn't really gotten its own identity yet because right now it feels like sort of a watered down version of like Android or just like a more high powered version of Treasure. But I do
yeah,
think that like with more testing and more playing, I think people will find out interesting things about it. Like I know people are testing Relinquished a lot here, which might be sort of a distinct deck for the format. A lot of different things that people can do with this format, and I'm curious to see what people will bring to the next monthly tournament. For sure, because I think that we might see some spice. I mean, we've been seeing some spice in these locals. We'll have to see if people bring the spice to the big monthly as well.
yeah. There are some rogue decks that I'm interested. If ever somebody is gonna bring them up, like maybe like burn strategies, which we haven't seen yet, which in Treasure have had like a big spotlight instead. You know.
Yeah. And if people do want to bring that, I will be more than happy to see it because I'm always in favor of people bringing out interesting decks and seeing what happens. So, uh, hopefully, this next tournament will be bigger than the last one we held in it, and hopefully, we'll get even more new faces and more people playing. So, good stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think with more testing, maybe we can just define more, like give more, you know, personality about this format and like what's it gonna be. Because right now we are still in the phase and where like everybody is testing out new stuff, you know, different stuff to see what is working, what is not. We are still not 100% sure yet, you know.
Yeah.
So
And
it's worth trying everything, and we see what will have the success.
exactly. And that's exciting. So, people say that there isn't much innovation in these old forms, but I think that Imperial can prove them wrong. So I'm excited to see what happens in the tournament starting tomorrow. And I'll be covering the results of that whenever they wrap up. But I'm excited to watch as the tournament goes on and see what people bring and see what
Yeah.
happens. So if you're interested in that, again, head on over to the YGO from Zero Discord server down in the description down below. If you want to look forward to my coverage of that tournament eventually, or just see any other retro Yu-Gi-Oh content that I'm making, then definitely subscribe to the channel too, and give the stream a like. It really helps out a lot. But that's going to do it for the stream, I think, tonight. Thanks to everyone who played, and I hope that you all enjoyed it as always. But until next time, I've been Ben from YGO from Zero, and I'm signing off. So, peace.
By the way, I'm very curious.